All
cool.
right, what's up, guys? This is the first inaugural episode of the Nerdcast. My name is Ryan. I got my brother Declan here with me. We live in two different cities, so this is the best way for us to get together to record a podcast every week is to just do it over a Discord call and record it. So that's how we'll be filming it for the foreseeable future. This podcast is just going to be about any sort of nerdy stuff that we're both into, that we want to discuss. We'll try and do episodes as things get released, whether that be TV shows or new films, video games. We'll be talking Magic the Gathering sometimes and stuff like that. There's a great new Magic set that's coming out soon that I'm excited for, so we'll probably do an episode about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this week, as you can see from the thing that Declan's got pulled up there, Superman. Superman just came out on, well, yesterday. Today's the Saturday. Technically the Thursday night, though. I went to the Thursday night premiere. Declan went to go see it yesterday. And
Yeah.
we have not discussed our thoughts in any way, shape,
Yeah,
or
this
form
this
about
this is very
this.
exciting.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
intentionally held off from normally when stuff like this comes out that we're both interested in. I'll call Declan as soon as he's seen it and we'll have a whole discussion about it, whatever. We're going to do that live in the flesh for you guys to see. So all of our thoughts and all of our takes on it and everything that we think about it is going to be discussed in full right here, right now. Obviously, I talked to the people I went to the movie with about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Same with me over here. Yeah.
and I also, my cousin came over earlier today, and we played Magic for a couple hours, and we had like a nice, very long discussion about what our thoughts were on the movie and stuff like that. So I have talked about it and kind of gotten my thoughts out, but not with Declan, and same for him. So
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this on the show on the podcast. It's
hell
exciting.
yeah.
Yeah, this is
I get a
hopefully
little
this is
sippy sip.
exciting for everybody as it is for us. All right, let's jump on into it. Do you want to? We said we were going to count down our scores. So do you want to just do that now then?
Well, I want to give like a little general, um, like what our general thoughts were on the movie first. So I'll just
But
start.
then my thinking is I could gather what your score would be, kind of how off you um gave your general thoughts, right? So like I'm down to just get the scores out the way, and then you can give your general thoughts, and we can go into pros and cons if
General
that's
thoughts.
good.
Yeah, that works for me. So let's do that.
Okay. All right.
So we're just
On the
both
count of
both
three.
shouting them out at the same time.
I think I like that idea. All right. On the
Okay.
count of three. Three, two, one, nine.
8.5.
Nice. Okay.
Okay,
Actually,
we're pretty
funnily enough,
close.
I moved it up on my break at work today doing the notes. I had it at an 8.5 as well. So we're on like the almost the same page.
There's one thing about the movie that was so glaringly not what I would have done, that took away that entire 1.5 score for me. This would have been a
Oh, okay.
10 out of 10 movie if not for the one thing, and we'll get into that.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
this one thing ties into so much shit in the movie that it's just like
It's a vital
there's no
point.
way for me to,
So.
yeah, excuse it. So, well, not excuse it. I didn't hate it or anything. It's just like I just would not have done that. And I think it just didn't service the story super well. So, okay, let's get into like our general. So I'll just start by saying I loved the movie. It was really good. It's
Yep.
refreshing to see especially
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I just turned 29. Declan is, what are you, 21? I feel
19,
bad.
19, 19.
Oh shit. Okay. I have too many siblings to keep track of. Just
Yeah.
don't hate me for not remembering his age. Um so yeah, so he's coming up on 20 in a couple months. I just turned
Yeah,
29.
I'm 20. Yeah, I'm 20. I'm 20 this year.
The the movies that we grew up with for Superman were the Henry Cavill movies, and although I think he crushed that role in what he was given with his scripts,
Yep.
and there was a definite like gravitas to that character that he did such a great job with, and there was a lot of the fight scenes are really great. There's a lot of good things to pull from those movies,
Yep.
but they're fucking terrible Superman movies.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
Superman. He does not embody Superman in any way, shape, or form. If you've ever read a fucking comic, he is not
Yeah.
Superman in any of those movies. So this was such a refreshing, like a breath of
So,
fresh
yeah.
air.
Sorry to cut you off, but not to have Pa Kent hit him with the
Yeah,
"Don't
yeah,
don't save me." Yeah, that
yeah.
was nice to not have that in the movie. I mean,
Yeah, and that's
you know.
that's something I want to discuss too about his parents still being alive well into his, or I guess
Yeah.
going into his 30s. How old was he? 30 years ago. Yeah, so he's 30. I think it said 30
I think
years, three
he's
decades ago.
yeah. I think he's similar age to David Cornsweet himself. Like he's around 32, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, I thought the movie was a breath of fresh air for that aspect. We're finally going back to form, doing comic book movies that actually feel like a comic book. There was a lot of things that were not perfect about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, for instance, but those were comic book movies. They felt like you were watching a comic book unfold in live action on the screen,
Yeah.
and
It's a good right
this
way of
is
putting
what
it.
this felt like to me. And no DC movie has felt like that for a long time. Um, and aside from the Suicide Squad, which James Gunn was also behind, the Suicide Squad, not to be mistaken with the dog
With
shit
it. Yeah.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was refreshing in that way. I thought that all of the actors just absolutely crushed their roles. I think Nathan Fillion was, almost stealing the screen from
Hey, and
Cornsweat at times. Mr. Terrific.
shout out my Destiny my Guardians out there because Nathan Fillion plays I'm one of the main characters in that game, Cade.
True.
So I just wanted to shout that out real quick because yeah, every time I heard him on the screen, I always thought of Cade, but yeah, he knocked it out of the park. And they're actually, funny enough, they're similar characters and being like charismatic and like funny and kind of a dickhead at moments.
Well,
So
he's great at playing that kind of character, and
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
Guy
yeah,
Gardner would not have worked if not for somebody like Nathan Fillion playing him. And I was just watching shout out Screen Crush, but I was just watching one of their videos, podcast style videos that they do where they have like a panel of people discussing it, and that was one of the things that one of the guys said was, that Guy Gardner would be unwatchable if not for being written by somebody like James Gunn and played by somebody like Nathan Fillion. He's such a fucking asshole, unlikable character, but if you do it
yeah,
properly, it makes you love him despite hating him, and that's kind of the whole point of him. They really nailed that. I forget the guy who plays what his name is. The guy who plays Mr. Terrific. He was a
yeah.
scene stealer as well. Like he fucking
Yeah,
crushed it. He was the highlight of the movie for me. Every time he was on screen, I was like, just everything he did was so great. The actor really nailed it. The writing for him was
but here
impeccable.
I can get that up for you real quick.
Isabella Merced did a really great job as Hawk Girl as well. She didn't get quite as much screen time, but there he is. Eddie Gathegi or Gathegi or
Gathegi. Yeah, I don't want to butcher
I don't
that,
know.
but
We're gonna
he
butcher his name. I don't know how to say his name,
yeah,
but he crushed it.
yeah, he did crush it.
Also, great to see him. He was in the in one of the X-Men movies as Darwin, and he's supposed to be this like
Oh,
unkillable, indestructible fucking mutant and then gets killed like immediately. Like he's the first person to die, I believe, in that movie. So yeah, I mean, great to see him get some actual screen time playing a superhero role. He's also like a really cool and inspiring character. Like he's like
Yeah.
Iron Man in that
I
he's
don't want to
just a
like.
genius. You know, he doesn't have any sort of superpowers or anything like that. He's just a smart guy that knows how to build tech that'll service his needs, and I think they played that off
Yeah,
really
they.
well. And he
I don't want
sold
to
it
cut you
too.
off, but the one thing I do want to say is let's keep some of these more in-depth thoughts for when we get into pros and cons.
Yeah. Okay. So why
All
don't
I
you give
wanted to
me
say,
your general? Yeah.
I mean, my generals, I'm going to be kind of repeating a lot of the same things, so I'm not going to. It's very along the same lines as you. I'll save my issues when we get into specifics, so I'm not really going to repeat too much. I mean, you kind of nailed it there with your overview. I mean, I agree. It was great, and it was just a breath of fresh air. It was really fun. It was a really fun movie. It reminded me a lot of Deadpool and Wolverine movie
Yeah.
theater experience.
Yeah.
Is how I would describe it. Like it was just everybody was just having a great time. Um, so yeah, that's it for the overview. Do you want to start with pros or do you want to start with cons?
Okay, so I wrote out you wrote out like bullet points. I wrote out
Yeah,
like
I have bullets for
properly
both. So
formed thoughts. So um, I didn't really list them pros and cons. I just kind of kept writing about shit. So I'll just read off only the pros first, and then you can do the same, and then we'll talk about the cons after.
okay,
Um, so James Gunn did a great job of thoughtfully crafting a movie that truly felt like a comic book unfolding on the screen. Kind of what I said already, but it's worth saying twice. Like it was phenomenally well done in that regard. The intro to the movie, as well as at times the episodic feeling of the movie, in addition to the campiness of everything and most especially the essence of Superman as a character, were all captured beautifully and really sold the nature of the film as being deeply connected to the source material without directly retelling any specific storyline beat for beat from the comics. So that was what I most liked about the movie, is that it really did feel like a comic book movie, not some, and some movies have done it well, like the um, the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. Good film. It wasn't my favorite Batman movie. It wasn't the best movie in the world. It had some flaws and some issues, but them doing a brand new take where it's this super grounded universe where nobody really has like superpowers. It's just more criminals and like the underworld and stuff like that. Great take. You can do something that doesn't feel like it's pulled from the comics and do something great. I just think like that's not what I go to the theaters to see. I want to see them bring to life the stories that I grew up reading as a kid and have loved my whole life. So, yeah. Couple of cons here.
I mean, hold. I mean, let's just. You
Pros.
want to just go? You want to just go pro for pro,
Okay, yeah, you
back
do
and
a
forth.
couple. You do a couple, and then I'll go back to mine.
Um, yeah, I mean, I have 13 pro bullet points, so mine will be a little quicker because I'm just going to briefly talk about like a few, like the bullet point. um, so my first pro was visually great, and then in brackets I had CGI and coloring.
Yep,
So my
agreed.
thing with that was for a while there, I didn't know crypto was 100% CG.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, so
impressive.
that's
Like he looked
to anyone.
unbelievably good.
Yeah, to anyone at home who didn't know that, that is a fact. That's not dog's not actually there. So that that is just um, that's a good point into my argument here on why it was visually great. And another thing was, as I said, coloring. So a big problem that I have with the MCU is the MCU is kind of gray a lot of the time.
It's washed out a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. This was not at all. It
No,
was like holy shit
very
vibrant. It was
vibrant.
yeah. Um, kind of like as I said, kind of like Deadpool and Wolverine, where it just shit popped.
Yeah.
And there was definitely
And
more
even
color to it.
Deadpool and Wolverine, a lot of it took place in the void at the end of time, and that is a very like washed out backdrop for the
Yeah.
movie, but they still managed to have this like vibrancy and
No, exactly. I mean,
a
this
lot of
one,
great.
there was multiple scenes in the desert, and it
Yeah.
still looked great. Yeah, it looked great. So that was one thing I wanted to shine light on was CGI and coloring because one of my favorite MCU movies, which we're gonna get into on another episode.
Hmm.
Quick little leak. We're gonna get into our lists and talk about previous stuff. Is
Actually, why not real quick pause? Next
Yeah,
week
yeah.
we're gonna do Declan and I are gonna compare our tier list for all of the MCU projects, and then the week after that, Fantastic Four First Steps comes out. So we'll both go see the premiere of that, and then we'll do another same exact style as this, and just kind of give our thoughts and our takes and everything on that movie as well, and give it a little review. And then after that, we've got a couple more things planned. But the next week is going to be reviewing our and comparing our tier lists for all of the MCU, and then the week after that,
And I think
Fantastic Four.
next the next week will, or sorry, next episode, it might not even be a full week for you guys, depending on how we're feeling, because we're not. That's not really a time gated episode because we're not waiting on anything. But we're gonna talk about Ironheart. We both finished that, and
Yeah,
we'll add that to our list.
yeah,
So
we'll
we'll
do
talk
a
about our
deeper
list.
discussion about Ironheart than we do anything else because it's relatively recent.
Right. So we'll do
When we
our
do our
list,
tier
and
list,
then
yeah,
yeah, we'll do our list, and then we'll add Ironheart in, and then when we add Ironheart in at the end of our list, then we'll talk about it to finish
yeah,
it off. Anyway, so that's a little thing for next week. But back to this week in Superman.
yes,
Um, yeah, CGI and coloring was my first pro. As I said, Civil War, one of my favorite MC movies, looks gray. It's
yeah,
super gray.
yeah.
So just wanted to shout that out. So yeah, that's my first pro. So do you want me to do another one since mine are a
Do a
bit
couple
quicker?
more, yeah, because yours are a little quicker.
Okay. Mine was kind of something you were getting into in your overview, and that's why I wanted to slow you down a little bit because you're getting giddy
I'm
because
gonna
this
get
movie's so
into it.
good.
I'm gonna get into
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, this movie is so good that that's totally fair. But my second pro was great acting across the board.
yeah.
Like there was
And
not
that's
one bad
something I'll talk
performance.
about in my points as well.
Yeah, there wasn't one bad performance, so that was really nice. And then my shout out performance. So for you, it was up on screen here. I'm just gonna point to the gentleman because I don't want to butcher his name. Edi or Edie,
I
Eddie.
think it's Eddie. I think it's just Eddie. That's how I've heard
Yeah.
it pronounced. I just don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Okay,
Gathegi,
so
I guess.
Eddie. Yeah, Eddie. That was your man of the match. That
I
was
think
your.
I mean,
But for
like you said,
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
had a standout performance, but his character was written so
fair. Yeah,
well
for
that
me the. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, the character was
no,
just
he not only did he crush it, but I think that his character was written flawlessly as well. And I'll get when we get into the cons and stuff, we'll talk about some of the things I didn't like about how some of the other characters were written. But his character was not only did he crush it like everybody did in this movie,
yeah.
acting performance wise, but his character was written flawlessly, and he every time he was on screen, it was like a pleasure to watch him play this character. So yeah, it was he was the standout for me.
Um, yeah. So my standout was the main man, David Cornsweet. I mean, I think he
I mean,
was.
close second for me too. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
great.
Okay. Yeah. And I think for me, the close second would have been Eddie as Mr. Terrific because those two, I think those are 1A and 1B when it comes to this movie because they really were the two. I mean, I would almost say besides Lois, he probably had the next most screen time outside of him or Lois and Lex,
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah, probably.
So um, yeah, I
Lex
mean, yeah,
was
he was
unbelievably good too.
too. Yeah,
What's his
yeah.
fucking name?
Nicholas
Nicholas
Holt,
Holt.
Nicholas
Yeah,
Holt.
Nicholas Holt
Yeah.
crushed that role, dude.
So, anyways, yeah, across the board, great performances. But just wanted to shout out David Cornsweet because I know there's a lot of. I mean, I'm not gonna call them cultists, but the Snyder fans, and he was getting absolutely, ripped and to shreds when he was cast, and they were like, "Oh, he's not Henry Cavill," and I do really like Henry Cavill in the suit. To be completely
He
honest,
looked the part of
he looked the
Superman in
part,
every way.
but
Yeah.
but he looked like a more mature, maybe Superman, like, and also the way that those Snyder films went, obviously, was a completely different tone. But I meant like more as the look. He was more, I would say, like an older, kind of mature looking Superman. Whereas David Cornsett really brings out like the happy go lucky, you know, just
He sold and looks the part of the Superman who's still figuring it out. You know, he's
yeah,
only
and
been
just
doing this
and
for a couple
having
years, and
and
it's
really upbeat. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, So yeah, that was my second pro. Did you want me to go through one more? Or do you want to go?
Well, one of mine is kind of I'll do my next one just because it kind of
Okay.
my next two because they kind of reiterate some of what you were saying. So my next one was David Cornsweet flawlessly captured the essence of not only Superman but also Clark Kent, Kal-El, and Ultraman. He truly deserves his flowers for this, and I will be the first one to give them to him. Yeah, just the fact that a lot of people forget about the fact that most superheroes have their alter ego and then their superhero persona.
Hmm.
But Clark also has his Kal-El persona as well. So he has that three character kind of thing going. And also to quote the end of Kill Bill, Volume 2, he is unique in the fact that every other superhero is, Spider-Man is Peter Parker and he puts on the suit and he becomes Spider-Man. Superman is Superman and he puts on the costume to be Clark Kent.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is so different from every superhero in that way, and Superman's critique on the human race is who Clark Kent is. So he disguises himself as this clumsy, awkward guy that makes a lot of mistakes and is unsure of himself and all these things. This is all from the monologue of at the end of Kill Bill Volume 2, but it's really thought provoking because it's like that is why he's so much different than all the other superheroes. Is that his alter ego is Superman, and the him putting on a costume is playing Clark Kent. So, the fact that David Cornsweet was able to play all three aspects of that character flawlessly, and then also play Ultraman in a very convincingly, like, this is a different guy kind of way was really incredible to me. And then my
Yeah.
next point was visually the movie was spectacular in every way. The cinematography was great. The shots were all very well thought out, and all the fight scenes were fun and engaging. We'll get into like going a little bit deeper on that after, but the like
Yeah, I think so.
crypto
Yeah.
was fucking perfectly utilized. Everything was perfectly utilized in this movie. And
Yeah.
yeah, I was very impressed with the writing and the cinematography, the acting, all the pieces fell together for this movie to really be stunning. And then just a really quick bullet point: I enjoyed the humor quite a bit, and it felt very Superman in every way. Superman is this almost like annoyingly earnest and almost to the point of naivety. You know what I mean? And that's who he's supposed to be in the pages of the comics, and it really came through in this movie when he saves the squirrel from the big kaiju.
Yeah.
Was really what sold it to me of like, okay, they really care about the detail of him just caring about everything, and then him trying to convince the Justice Gang to not kill this giant monster that's terrorizing the city because it deserves to live too. Very Superman. In the comics, Superman has a fucking zoo basically in the Fortress of Solitude of a bunch of different creatures from every dimension and part of the galaxy and beyond, and including some animals that or creatures or whatever you want to call them that can pose serious threats to the world, and he houses them
Right.
there in
Hmm.
an environment that they can thrive in, and he takes care of them and allows them to live because he's so against killing anything, right? So
Sorry to cut you
why
off,
are you
but
streaming me?
I was gonna. Oh, you're right. I'm having this happen now. I was gonna say to everyone at home, sorry if I'm looking here now, but I realized that there was a reason that I had it on my other monitor. I'm looking here. It's so
Yeah,
we
I'm
can
like,
have stuff
what the
pulled up.
fuck is going on?
No, that was just I just had a brain fart there. Sorry everybody. Um,
Okay, yeah, go ahead with another couple points, and then I'll do a couple more as well.
okay. And yeah, no, I mean I agreed with everything you just said there. It was that was okay. Yeah, I mean yeah, I'll do a couple more points then because one of mine was extremely funny, more than I was expecting, is what I had written, and I went with Ryan and Ryan, so it's funny to
The
everyone at
other two
home.
Ryans, yeah.
I
He's
have
got
two
two
friends
friends
named
named Ryan and a brother named
yeah,
Ryan.
so that might get confusing for everyone at home. But I went with two of my friends named Ryan, and both of them said coming out of it that, and this is everyone's personal preference, but they were like that was the funniest superhero movie I've seen in like years, like including Deadpool, Wolverine, and Thunderbolts, which I both thought were great. They laughed more at this movie, and that obviously will be personal for everyone, but that's just to put it out there. The fact that it's even on that level of Deadpool and Wolverine for
Yeah,
some people
and it
is
was it was family friendly funny too. Um,
yeah,
Guy Gardner is a bit of a dick in the movie, and him doing the middle finger with the lantern, and like tossing the tanks aside with giant middle fingers and stuff. Like
yeah,
there
that was
was
awesome.
some stuff
So
that was like a little bit not for kids, but for the most part I would say like
I was gonna
85
say
90% of the humor was like very much like kid
Yeah, well, as far as
friendly.
the jokes go, yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I
which
was gonna
is
ask,
the
did
opposite
you?
of Deadpool and Wolverine in that sense.
Yeah,
And I think Deadpool and Wolverine I think was funnier just because I'm not only an adult, but I'm like a comedy nerd. And I watch a lot of stand up and a lot of comedy podcasts and that sort of thing. So for me, like there is no joke that's too offensive or vulgar or whatever. Like you can, if you're gonna make me laugh. So I didn't personally. I don't think it quite holds up to that level of humor, but it is definitely funnier than any other superhero movie that's come out in a long time, aside from just the one film being Deadpool and Wolverine.
yeah. I mean, and we'll get into this next week. I mean, I'm super high on Thunderbolts,
Yeah, I
and
thought it was fantastic. I
and
don't
I
know
thought
how
this
that
was,
movie flopped. I mean, I guess we'll get into
yeah,
that
we'll
next
get
week.
into that next
I
week.
know
Yeah,
I know how it did, but it's just like I just
it's
don't.
crazy.
It's crazy that it did because it was
Yeah,
so good.
but my
But
point was just this was as funny as Thunderbolts, and
yeah,
yeah, we'll get into that next week. But I'm super high on that. Okay. Next point that I had, which kind of goes into what we were talking about briefly before, and a little bit in your extended overview, um, was great intro to the universe slash side characters were great.
yeah,
And my brackets were Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner. Um, for me, those were the two best side characters by far.
yeah.
I think in the movie. And we'll get into this later, but I wasn't really a fan of Hawk Girl.
Oh,
I thought
really?
she was,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, so I thought, other than that,
I thought they did her the perfect amount of goofy, but also sort of sinister because she's playing the version of the character. I don't know how much you know about her from the comics, but
pretty
um,
minimally. Holy fuck!
okay, so
Compared to the
she's
other
playing
characters,
the.
like she's kind of unknown for me a little bit. So this was like one of my first
So I believe there's only been
experiences.
two versions of her in the comics, and one or maybe three. But the first iteration was like her, like great aunt or some shit like that, and the version that she's playing is the great aunt's ancestor, and her story in the comics is that she is struggling with like a bunch of shit in her life, and she commits suicide, and when she does, the soul of her great aunt enters her body, but she has all of her memories of
Mm.
like her life prior to taking her life, as well as like her aunt's soul as well. So Isabella Merced said in an interview, she said, my character's backstory, that not in the comics, but what we're planning to do with her moving forward in this universe, is so fucking dark and bleak that I don't even know how we're going to do it without it being just like unbelievably depressing and fucked up. So I think she was written well, and I think she played the character well, towing that line of being very cynical and dark. With her killing the
Yeah, I was
dictator
gonna say
dude at the
that was
end,
by far her best scene for
and
me.
but
I
also
just found
being
like
goofy and comic booky, like when she screams when she flies and like shit like that. I thought it was a
yeah.
good balance for the character, and I thought it was a pleasure to watch on screen. But anyways, I'll do one of my points then too, because it kind of ties into that. I said all the supporting characters, from Clark's fellow reporters to all the characters of the cloth, were fun to watch and didn't make the movie feel too crowded. Nathan Fillion, as always, crushed the role of Guy Gardner. Isabella Merced did a great job as Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific was one of the highlights of the movie for me, and Eddie Gathegi played him brilliantly. I am definitely excited to see more of the Justice Gang in the future. That was
Oh
what I
yeah,
wrote
dude.
down.
The to just piggyback off that, I'm so excited for the. Is it a prequel for the? Obviously, I mean, obviously, it would be a prequel then for the Lantern Corps, or whatever they're calling it. Or is it not a prequel because he's getting
So they're
because
doing
Aaron
a
Pierre's
they're
coming
doing the
into the play, right?
HBO show. They're doing the HBO
Okay.
show, and it's gonna have Guy Gardner as well as um, Hal Jordan and fucking what's the other grand John Stewart, I want to say John.
Jonathan Stewart,
Yeah. So the
right?
three, it's
I
gonna
mean,
have
here
all
I'll pull it
three
up.
of them in it. Um, it's gonna have all three of them in it. So I don't. It doesn't necessarily have to be a.
Oh, well, apparently this is a football player.
I think it's Stewart, like Stuart.
Yeah, we can just do is search up Aaron Pierre Green Lantern. I have that searched up. Oh, it is John. It's John Stewart, not Jonathan. You were right.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyways, yeah. Yeah, he's the three of them. So these two gentlemen here,
Yeah,
Hal Jordan and John Stewart, as well as Guy Gardner and multiple other Green Lanterns, are going to show up in that series. So I don't think it necessarily has to be a prequel or a sequel or anything to this story. It could really take place at any point in time. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see on that
yeah.
one.
Anyways, for me, I'm so excited because I mean, kind of just to what I said before, the CG of all of the stuff he was doing looked so good, and just kind of like it just I don't know. The for me the Lantern Corps like lore is just one of the best things in DC.
I don't
And
know.
so if we can,
I preferred Ryan Reynolds' CGI suit. I thought
yeah, yeah. Anyway, so for me, it's just that's gonna be exciting to see what James Gunn does with that lore because it's so in depth and like with all the emotions meaning different things within
yeah,
the Lantern lore is super cool. So I'm hoping they cook with that.
definitely some of the coolest characters in DC is
I also
the
wanted
whole Lantern
to point
Corps.
out I wanted to say this earlier when we gave our rankings because I assumed before we talked on the episode today, I assumed you liked this movie. There was a
Yeah,
part of me that thought maybe you were going to be like a little lower, like a 7 at maybe like your lowest, like a something like that. And we'll go into why you docked at the 1.5. But um, yeah, I mean, it was just incredible, man. It was just super incredible. But yeah, I mean, I really want to see more of the Lantern Corps stuff and um, more background stories, I guess, per se. Like they set that stuff up really well.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll actually, speaking of setups, I'll do my last point, and then you can riff off the rest of yours. Um, I said Crypto was a fantastic addition to the movie, and the Supergirl reveal at the end of the film was not only funny, but also a refreshing new depiction of the character on screen, and is clearly setting up her having a more visceral story than we have seen in film and television depictions of her. So, you know, she's been mostly shown in on screen, you know, films and television, as being upbeat and you know, very earnest like Superman is. But what they're basing her film on, that's going to come out next year, is the Woman of Tomorrow comics, where she develops an alcohol problem because she's struggling with the fact that um, you know, most of the Kryptonians were not good people, and she watched the hubris of her race spell out their own doom. And you know, she was sent as a around like 18, 19-year old or whatever. She was in her late teens when she was sent to Earth, and because of some timey-wimey wibbly-wobbly stuff, Clark gets there first and ages past her. So she gets to Earth, and Clark has been taken in by this wonderful family that taught him all these incredible values and all that stuff, shit that she had never seen back home, where most people were not, you know, the type of people to look out for the little guy, or to help others out of pure kindness or generosity. And so she struggles with the knowledge that that Superman is an anomaly, and she, as an adult, has to make the choice to be a good person and to do the right thing, whereas Superman was raised to be that way, and it's his default setting. And so I'm really excited to see, you know, her showing up hammered at the end really like shows you that that's the direction they're going to take with it. And you know, they've been very upfront about the fact that they're adapting that specific series of comics. So I'm really excited for what they do with her, and I think exploring the darker side to her as a character will be incredibly interesting. And then, but on the same note, you get to have Crypto in her movie, which will kind of lighten the mood and you know, kind of distract from the heavy cloud hanging over her. And obviously, you know, James Gunn being a huge animal rights activist and a huge animal lover, like I'm sure part of the story is going to be that Crypto is the biggest thing that helps her through this depression and this struggle with her identity and stuff like that. So I'm very excited for that. And Crypto was just so well written and so good. Every time he showed up on screen, the reveal of, you know, or the setup and punchline, I guess, more accurately, of him chasing the cameras at the end, because Superman knew he would go after the drones, because he already did it with Mr. Terrific earlier, and all those sort of things with Crypto. Like, he fit very well into the movie. He was a necessary part of the movie, the way it was written. And most people that would have done a Superman movie would not have thought it necessary to put him into the film. And he's been avoided all these years for that reason. I think just kudos to James Gunn for deciding that he was a necessary part of the story and part of Clark's character development, and to to roll with that. So and to do it so flawlessly, I thought he was awesome in the movie. I really liked Crypto being around.
Yeah, I agree. I have that as one of my remaining points. Was just Crypto was awesome. I remember what I was trying to say before when I had a brain fart. Did you see the so people were like when the movie was getting early reviews and it was like really like they were good, and then the movie came out on when you saw it in the premiere, and then the reviews were getting even better and whatever. There was a hashtag going around pointed towards. I mean, I'm assuming it was pointed towards Snyder fans, but it was hashtag Gun Don't Miss
Yeah.
or
I think
Gun
it.
Don't Jam.
I think it was also
I
just
think that was really funny because
that is
I mean
funny.
look at his track record, dude.
That's what
It
I
was
was gonna say. Is
crazy.
I think also like he just has not made a bad movie in maybe ever, but in a long time at least. All three of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies were unbelievably good.
Hold your thoughts on
Suicide
this just
Squad was
because
great.
hold your thoughts on this just because I have a question for us to answer together at the end of our pros and cons that I think will be interesting. That kind of talks about his other movies.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'll just list off my remaining points. One of my points was felt like Superman. We've already talked about that. It felt like Superman compared to the what we've previously gotten. Um, I had he actually loses,
Yep.
um, which
Right
is
away
kind of
too.
which kind of goes into a con I have, which we'll get into, where he doesn't win a fight in this movie by himself without help, not one, which I had a little bit of an issue with. Like I thought dumbing him down in power level was really great, but I think they may have done it a little too much. But I did appreciate that he lost a fight because
I think he
I
could
think
have won that fight with that kaiju without them showing up, though. I think it
maybe,
was
but
only Hammer of Baravia, which was also Ultraman, which is that's a con that I'll bring up in a second.
oh yeah, yeah,
That
yeah. I
was
mean,
something I
well, I'm
didn't
almost
like
done
about
my
the movie,
pros.
but yeah, just quickly, like I think he could have won every fight aside from the one with the fucking clone of him that's objectively stronger than him. You know what I mean? Like it's literally him but dumber and stronger. So like obviously he needed help with those fights, and I didn't have a problem with that. And I think had he been left to his own devices and forced to deal with that kaiju on his own, I think he could have. I think he was just trying so hard to save everybody and to not let anyone get hurt or killed, that it would have just taken him longer to deal with. But I think he could have dealt with that no problem.
Yeah, I mean that's a totally fair argument. But that was something that I did like was that he lost because my point was going to be, I think in the entire Snyderverse he loses once, right? He loses to Batman in a fight, and other than that, he because of that effect or because of that fight, he's already like been dumbed down in power. He dies when he kills Doomsday. But outside of Batman v Superman, he's like God in that universe. Like
Yeah.
he's too strong. Like it's like I noticed it like a lot in both the Snyder cut and in the Justice League. Like both of those iterations of that movie, like whenever like he's the focal point, it's like res him, like get him back, and it's just like it's over.
Yeah.
It's like there wasn't any Reaper, like there wasn't any point at the end of that movie where I'm like, oh no, like there's actually a chance where he loses here. Like no, he pulls up and Steppenwolf like shits his pants
Yeah.
and he's like, "Fuck me, like I'm cooked," which is
Yeah.
cool when he earns it. And I think this movie for me was on the better side of the balance of those two, but I still feel like he could have been a little stronger. Um,
I think from the
um,
comics, the age old issue with him as a character is that he is this unbelievably unmatched, powerful being, and that really the only characters that can ever give him a run for his money are people that are matched at his power level because they're like him. So, General Zod, being another Kryptonian, can fight him. Bizarro, being a clone of him, that's stronger, but dumber, can fight him. Ultraman being in the comics, Ultraman is not a clone of Superman. He's a Superman from another universe. That's something I'll get into in my cons list. But that's always been the age old issue with Superman as a character. Is it's like Superman basically has to fight Superman to lose a fight, right? And
I guess I no that's totally fair. I think there would have been a nice. I wouldn't have mind like a scene where he was just dummying people, which you get a little bit of, but it's just like absolute cannon fodder that he murks
when
at
he's
the end.
fighting the Raptor guys, is that what they
It's
called
like
it, the Raptors or whatever?
yeah,
But yeah, when he's fighting those guys,
yeah,
he just fucking mops the floor with them. He even says like good luck with that when
yeah.
Lex sends them in after him, right? So
So I don't know. I think like I don't know. It's like it was a pro and a con for me. I liked how he lost, but I think maybe like if he had like one fight where he was just like he learned, like you could see him learning his abilities.
yeah, but I think we
I think
skipped that step because we're jumping in 3 years into him being Superman.
Yeah.
So it did establish this is the first time he's lost a fight in the very beginning of the film. But it also, he also could have struggled with fights before learning how to use his powers and stuff like that, and we just didn't see that on screen.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see.
Let me just ding off the rest of my pros, and we'll get into cons here because I am curious. So I had he actually loses, so that was great. And then I just had Supergirl with the heart eye emojis beside it, multiple times. I don't know what is that. What is that? Lovely lady's name? I don't know. She's only in it at the end. I don't know if they're gonna have her.
The blonde chick at the end there, bottom row.
No, that's not her.
That's not her? No?
No. Super Girl. James Gunn.
Millie Alcock, yeah, that's her name.
Yeah, this lovely lady. She was perfectly cast for. I mean, I don't need to say much. You know what I mean? Anyway, so that was a pro. Wanted to get that out the way.
Declan wants to give her all the cock.
Yes, but like we didn't just say that on live here. Anyways, just to move on here. Anyways, yeah, I thought she was great. Unironically, she was like to get away from the joke here. She was obviously beautiful, but like also she was funny, and I think her character, as you said, is going to be really interesting. Which I had it as another plot point, but it's like when she's drunk or whatever, and Superman's like, oh yeah, she goes to planets with a red sun because it doesn't affect her metabolism, so she can get drunk. I thought was really cool, a little bit of lore.
Yeah,
going on
and that's part of the Woman of Tomorrow story. That's
right,
exactly
and that's what
she
I'm saying.
does in those comics.
So that's gonna be really interesting. So, if you want my number, let me know if you end up watching this. What's her name again? Millie? Yeah, let me know. Anyways, and then for me, I liked the parent twist.
I did too.
I thought that was
new
be
take on them.
Yeah, I thought I think a lot of people might be angry about it, but I don't think that's.
Fuck him.
It's not a vital point to his character, and I thought that this was a really good twist on it. I really liked that because
just
it was
briefly my thoughts on that. Normally, his parents are supposed to be like two of the only good, kind-hearted people left on Krypton. And I think the reason why this change was good is because, on one hand, it reinforces what the struggles that Kara is going through as a character and why she's resorting to drinking and all that sort of stuff. Because if she had this aunt and uncle back home that were these good, kind-hearted, good-natured people to look up to, it wouldn't hit as hard with her whole struggle with the fact that most of her race was not like that. So I think it really just solidifies, like, there was nobody to look up to in that way back home for her. And it also, on the Superman side of things, it really reinforces like how important Ma and Pa Kent are to the story.
Yes, yes,
And
yes, yes. I couldn't
you
agree
know,
more. Yes.
there has been many iterations of Superman over the years in the comics that his parent, Ma and Pa Kent, his parents, his adopted parents, die off before he reaches this point in his life where he's in adulthood being Superman all the time. But there are multiple iterations of just what we've seen where they're alive well into his 30s. So I think if we're going to go that direction, I think, um, you know, the scene that brought him back from the edge of despair was talking to Pa Kent, you know, and you know, I think that scene wouldn't have hit as hard if he now lost his inspiration from his birth parents, which he had prior for the first 3 years of him being Superman, and likely
Hmm.
most of his childhood, or I don't know when he would have been introduced to that message, but you know, he's had this inspiring message to go on from his birth parents, but also the way he was raised by his adopted parents made him who he is. I think it just hits a lot harder how important Ma and Pa Kent are to him as a character and to the story in general. If they, you know, kind of undermine his, you know, Jor-El, and I forget his mother's name, but the, you know, his birth parents having been these benevolent people that sent him here to do good and whatever. Then you find out, oh, they're actually pieces of shit, and they
Yeah.
wanted him to do all this awful shit. So, you know, it kind of just reinforces
Yeah, I
how
mean, and to
important Ma and
piggyback
Pa
off
Kent
that,
are.
that means that he, listening to that first half of that message, he like he 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 did everything out of his own like will, right? Like that
Yeah,
he did it because he is Superman, and I thought that was like that also made that point even stronger.
yeah,
Yeah. So, and then just to rattle off my last two, Metropolis was great and its design and feel.
yep. Straight
Just
out of the
wanted to shout,
comics. The Daily
yeah, just wanted
Planet
to,
building and everything,
yeah,
perfect.
just wanted to shout that out. That was awesome. Um, and then the last thing was the suit was perfect. I was super on it, like the edge about it. Like I wasn't sure. I was on the fence about it for a while, and then once I saw it in motion, it was that's the Superman suit because
Yeah.
it is just the OG suit, but I guess updated would be the word, or like futurized. Like it had like the
Well,
cool little like edges and stuff to not make it look super cheesy, but it was also it looked the part.
James Gunn took pieces from several different series of comics to make one Superman costume, and I think that's why it worked so well.
Mm-hmm.
He he did the trunks, which, you know, he actually asked Zack Snyder how, you know, how would I make the trunks work, or like, did you ever try that? And Snyder was like, we just couldn't make it work. Like we tried and we just couldn't make it look good. And it was actually David Cornsweet who was like, isn't that supposed to be part of Superman's character? Is that he's like intentionally goofy looking because he's this all powerful being from another fucking planet, and how scary is that for, you know, a child or for the average citizen, that there's this guy that can fly around and has heat vision and all this, you know, and he's not even from here, like he has no reason to be on our side or whatever. And part of him looking goofy and having the fucking trunks on at the outside of his pants and shit like that is just simply to make him not scary, you know? And they also really conveyed that well with every time he saves someone, like when he saves that lady and puts her up on the roof, and then he's like deep, slow breaths, and then he smiles at her and leaves. Or when he's fighting the Hammer of Bravia, um, I forget if it's Hammer of Bravia um, or when he's fighting the, no, I think it's when he's fighting the kaiju, and the kaiju breathes fire into that office space, and then he's like, is everybody good? And they're like, yeah. And then he like smiles at them and flies away. The whole thing is he needs to like reassure people that yes, you're seeing this like all powerful being in front of you that has no reason to be on your team and no reason to save you, but like he's doing it because he wants to, because this is who he is. And he wants to be somebody that kids can look up to and that kids will run to when they're afraid, and not run away from because he is the scary guy. So, that's part of his
Yeah.
character. But the cape being attached at the shoulders here was
Yeah.
from one series of comics. The yellow S on the back of the cape is from All Star Superman, I believe. The trunks are classic Superman. All the different aspects of the suit. Even the S was pulled directly
It
from
was a
another
different
series
S.
of comics. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and so like it's basically just 4 or 5 different comic book designs put together, and that's why it feels so right, dude. Like it just looked so good on screen, and it
But
just felt so convincingly Superman, you know?
Snyder fans, they're gonna tell
Yeah.
you at home. They're gonna tell you at home that when he pulls up with the all black onesie in the Snyder cut, that was some fire shit. It looks cool,
It just
but that's
isn't
not
Superman
Superman.
though. Yeah, it just isn't
He's not gonna
Superman.
wear an all black onesie. Like
Yeah.
he's not here to aura farm, bro. He's
Yeah.
here to save you and put a smile on his face. He's not a Batman character who's gonna be posted up on the top of a building just looking at you menacingly. That's not his character, bro. He's not gonna.
Well, that's why I loved that
So
scene
that's why I really
where
like. That's why I like the goofy suit. Is where I was
yeah,
getting with that. Is it was great.
that's why I loved that scene where him and Lois are talking about punk rock, and she's basically telling him like you're just this earnest corn-fed farm boy, with like everybody is the greatest person in the world mentality, and I was punk rock or whatever, and then he's like maybe that's what punk rock is, and I think in a world where everybody is just cynical and angry at everybody all the time, and the world we live in today, like the punk rock thing to be is to be like Superman, to just see the best in everybody and to care way more than you should, and to just do the right thing no matter what the cost, whatever the personal toll might be, to just do the right thing. And I think that was just so beautifully handled in the
I
in the
agree.
movie. So yeah, that's all your
Um,
pros?
yeah, I don't. This sounds terrible for everyone at home, but I am excited to get into cons because I'm curious. Because this movie was so great, so I'm curious what would bog it down.
Okay, so for me, there's two big things that I really didn't like about the movie,
So
and
sorry to cut you off. Do you have like is that like you have two main points?
two main points, and they
Okay, I
virtually
have
tie
like.
into each other as well.
Do you mind if
So
I
you
go through
start
like?
off, do a couple, and then
Okay, yeah, because
I'll
I
get
got
into
like
that.
bullet. I got like a 10 bullet points.
Okay.
Um. So my first one was something we already talked about a little bit ago, but I said he loses too much. In the sense just that he loses too much and he doesn't win a fight without help, and we've already talked about that. He probably would have beat the kaiju without help. Just something I wanted to point out. But my main thing was his weakness should be kryptonite. Correct?
Yeah.
Why was his weakness at some points in this movie prior to him being exposed to kryptonite just getting hit really fucking hard?
Because again, Ultraman is above his power level. He's a clone of Superman with higher strength. So that'd be like saying, okay, you and me are siblings, right? Like if we fist fought, we can hurt each other. But if we go to some planet where we're both superheroes, a regular person there can punch me in the face and it won't hurt at all, and they'll break their hand on my face. But if you and I fight on that planet, we're still going to hurt each other.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you know what
Okay,
I'm saying?
that's
Like
fair.
it
Yeah,
makes sense.
I just thought it was more of like he can just like eat punches and he has to learn how to fight rather than just being able to like get hit really hard.
Right.
Um, but that's like really that was more of a nitpick, and then that kind of goes into my second nitpick, which was his laser eyes. And I don't know if it is freeze breath in this iteration because
Yeah.
they didn't really show it freezing anything,
Yes,
but it
they
was
did.
kind
They
of
did twice. When he saves the dog from the kaiju,
yeah. He just blows him away.
no, he blows him
No.
away, and the dog is sliding on ice.
Oh, I didn't clock
He
that. I just
uses
thought
his
he blew.
power of his breath to blow him out of the way,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
the
yeah.
ice forms underneath the dog so that he slides off, and he even slides to the point where he bonks off of that post or whatever it was that he hits, lamp post or whatever it was,
I completely missed
because
that. That's
he
on me.
wasn't in control of his sliding because he was sliding on ice.
That's on me. I didn't clock that. But for me, laser eyes and super breath were underutilized. I think a little bit because he had
I
that one cool laser eye scene at the end, and then a couple scenes with the frost breath, and that was pretty much it for the whole movie.
I agree, but we got to leave some things for
His
to
improvement,
wow
I don't
us
disagree.
to wow us late. Not even just improve, but like to pull something else out of the hat later on. You know, I would love to get another, a scene of him laser eyeing the mirror to shave and like shit like that. I would love to see that.
Mm,
Because Superman can't use a razor to cut his facial hair because that's it can't cut through his Kryptonian hair. So, shit like that. Like he has to use his laser vision and his frost breath for other shit other than just fighting. And I would love to if they had overutilized that in this movie. Then when we see him again later, it's not going to be as impactful when they do that, right? And he didn't really
totally
need
fair.
it throughout this movie, right?
No, he didn't. This was more of like a I wish. These first couple are like a I wish rather than a this is bad.
Right.
So I just wish I had seen more of the
Okay, why don't we
those
do
two
your
abilities.
whole list because they're going to be shorter points, and then we'll just go right into like a large discussion about what I didn't like about the movie because it's
Okay.
my gripe is like I could talk about it for 20 minutes. So
Okay. My next one was I had too little of Clark. I wish we had a little more Clark because he played him phenomenally well,
yeah,
and it was kind of just that interview in at the beginning, and then there was one other sec. Yeah, and then
at the
with
office, yeah.
it was like at the office at the beginning, and then like the interview, and then there was obviously when he's with his parents. But at that point, it's like Superman Clark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, it was like in office Clark. I wish we saw more because what we did see was awesome.
Right.
So I was a little bit. This is the one I'm assuming you're kind of gonna go off of more when you talk about it. But for me, Ultraman being a clone was kind of boring and predictable. The second I saw him moving, the way he was moving in the uh, when he was moving outside of the suit, when he wasn't the fist,
The Hammer of Bravia, yeah.
the hammer, sorry, of Baravia. The second he was in the Black Noir drip from the boys, by the
Yeah,
way, which really
literally,
looks,
and they couldn't have ripped it off harder. It was like
yeah,
that's literally in the comics for the boys. In the show, they did it very differently, but in the comics for the boys, Black Noir is literally a clone of Homelander, and in fact, there's a whole storyline where Black Noir starts going off and committing these like atrocities and shit in his normal, with his normal face, and then Homelander wakes up every day to see on the news like this, Homelander committed this horrible atrocity, and he's like, "What the fuck? Am I like doing shit? Like, am I like sleepwalking and like murdering people and shit?" So there's that whole
mhm.
storyline in the boys comics. They did it very differently in the show. But yeah, they literally ripped off Black Noir from the suit
Yeah.
and from the
So
cloning aspect and all of that shit. So
the second I saw him in the Black Noir suit moving like the way he was moving, I instantly knew it was a clone.
yeah,
Like
same,
literally instantly. I was like,
same.
oh, okay, so he's gonna demask, and we're just gonna see David Cornsweet again. Like, so for me, that was a little boring and predictable. Which leads into my next con, which was I wish Lex got hands on himself, like got into a fucking mech and started belt to ass himself, which I think we're gonna get
I
because
was
he's
gonna
not
say I
like
think we have
dead.
to see that later though,
He's not
because he's
dead,
a
and he's just
billionaire
gonna,
in prison. He's
yeah,
coming back.
right,
You know, it's like
100%. And
yeah,
also, there's like I heard some people talking about like the whole Lex being president thing. They might do that because like think about it, like wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Trump criminal in office. You know what I mean? Like it's not an impossible thing if you think about it.
yeah.
So I think that would be something that they would do just because it's kind of an interesting point. Um, so you're right, but I think that would have been so sick if he got in a suit and was like, let's just fucking run hands because like this isn't working after he beat Ultraman.
Yeah. I'll get so much more in depth in that in a second,
Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
then
continue on.
for me, I guess this is probably because I'm a big fan of like solo leveling and like Invincible and like different kind of animes. But for me, the Superman fighting specifically felt, which led in my other point, like he was a little underpowered for me. Like in the fighting scenes, I really liked his flying scenes. His flying scenes were peak,
Phenomenal.
phenomenal.
So well
But I
shot.
thought, yeah, I thought when he was fighting, it was a little like that's the one thing I will give Snyder for me is like when Superman hit somebody in those movies, like you fucking felt that shit, man.
Yeah.
Like it was like he hit them, and then like I don't know. For me, it was in this one. He kind of just seemed a little underwhelming when it came to the fighting for himself. Like my favorite fight scene in this movie by far was Mr. Terrific's going into the bunker.
Oh fuck, dude.
Dude, that
And
dude,
he sold it so well with all the hand movements and stuff. Of
yeah.
like, and
Dude, when he catches the one at the end and goes over the bubble
yeah, that was
and then
so
lands and
fire,
then
dude.
beats, yeah,
So fire, dude. And then just the no look, like
yeah,
turning off the bubble behind him, like
yeah,
you're good. I fucked
yeah.
everybody up. That was so good, so flawless. He really
You know
was
what
the
Ryan
highlight of the
said?
movie for me.
Yeah, you know what Ryan said? He was saying, sorry, buddy of Ryan for everyone at home.
Which one?
True. Ritter was saying it was a lot like the Yondu arrow, and it's also
Yes,
James Gunn. So
yes,
the way he was controlling everything and was going around and hitting people and then spinning and hitting another guy
yeah,
was very Yondu arrow esque, and it even had the red trail, which just happened to work with his character. But dude, yeah, that fight for me was the best fight by far, just because I felt the Superman fights were underwhelming. Not underwhelming, sorry, but they were a little different. They were such a different change from the Snyderverse, which was one thing that I liked about the Snyderverse was like the fight, the way that Superman like you really felt like he hit somebody
yeah.
in those movies. And mind you, certain things that they did in this movie were great. Like when he has like the ball of the dudes on him, and he does like the spin really fast and shakes them
Sick.
all off and shit like that. Like you didn't see that in the previous iteration. So like there was also great stuff, but I meant like straight like fisticuff. I felt like the fighting for me was not exactly what I was looking for. So that was one thing I had, and also the Mister Terrific fight was just it was just a one above all. Like it wasn't like these other fights were like terrible. That one was just holy shit, crazy good.
No,
It was very James
there was
Gunn.
great like combat moments from everybody. You know,
Oh yeah, Guy Gardner obviously.
Hawk Girl attacking the kaiju and trying to smash her mace into its eyeball and shit was
Yeah,
great. You know, the in Baravia, uh, Green Lantern knocking all, you know, swatting all the tanks away effortlessly and shit. There's great like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
fight moments from everybody, but that the Mr. Terrific one was really the most like visceral, where you're like, he is really like clobbering these dudes.
yeah.
And
He is.
for what it's worth, he's the least powerful standalone character. You know, if he takes a punch, he takes a punch. Like he's not any stronger than any other average
Right.
man. So if he lets one of those guys get to him, they can really do some damage on him, and he just effortlessly fucks everybody up without any worry of taking a hit at any time. And yeah, it was just so beautiful to watch. And yeah, I agree, that was the best fight scene. But yeah, some of Superman's fights were a little bit underwhelming. I think, again, it just plays into his character of like, here's this guy that can punch straight through the back of the head of anybody he wants, including that big kaiju. He could have just flown straight through that thing and killed it,
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. But it's like he's just so good-hearted or kind-hearted and like good-natured that he's like, I got to figure out a way to not end the fight in 3 seconds because I know I can do it. It's just like
Maybe
I
that's
don't
what
want to
it
hurt
is.
people so bad.
Maybe that's what it is. He really was pulling his punches,
Yeah.
I guess, to
And I mean,
say
he
in
did
this movie.
knock that guy's teeth out, and they clinked off of the camera
Mhm.
lens and shit at one point. It's not like he didn't fuck people up in this movie. It just like it was at the point of which it's like the literal world is at stake right now. This rift is going to tear the earth in half, kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, I gotta just whoop these guys at maximum speed to get back into the fray of what's really important right now.
Right.
So when it comes down to it, he is willing and able to just fuck people up at high speed, and deal with the threats as they come in a swift manner. But I think for the most part, he just kind of avoids doing that because he doesn't want to just hurt people more than he has to or risk killing someone or anything like that.
Yeah. And then my last three ones, and they're all quick, are I thought the score was amazing, but they didn't
Yeah.
use it enough.
Yeah.
I thought like it just like I think there was two moments where it was like the main like you could really like they turned it up and you could hear it, and I thought like for how good, dude, you have John Williams. Like I think it could have been used a little more.
I think
Uh,
James Gunn was just trying to avoid. He did the whole thing with all of the music in the Guardians movies being
mm,
diegetic, and the focal point of the movie is the soundtrack. I think he just really wanted to avoid. That's kind of his brand in most of his movies is the score holding a lot of weight in the story and for the characters. I think he just, coming out of the gates, this is the first movie in this universe. This is the thing that kicks everything off. I think he was probably just trying to avoid, um, coming across as like just doing the same thing as
same thing.
the
Yeah.
Guardians movies and other films, even Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Um,
That's fairs. I just really the score was fucking fire, so I wish I heard it more. Just a
yeah.
little nitpick. And then another one. This is a nitpick, just because um, this might impact like casual viewers, which I think this movie kind of has a little issue with. Like, if you're a casual viewer, it might be a little problematic because I think there might be too many like superpowered individuals like already established in this universe. Like, if you're someone who's trying to be like, um, I want to get into this new universe or whatever. I'm like interested in all this stuff, but I wasn't gonna get caught up in Marvel and the DC. Previous DC was terrible. This looks great. Let me get into it. I think like, if you were like a first time viewer of like this kind of stuff, you'd be like a little overwhelmed. Is what I'm trying to say.
I think yes and no. I think they did a good job of balancing that well, where it didn't feel too crowded, and that was something that I mentioned in one of my pros. Actually, is that for having that big of a scope of cast and supporting characters, I think they
Right, which
did
is why
actually
I had
handle it well.
yeah I had it
Um,
written down as potentially because like for me and you, I agree it was awesome, but I think like if I took my mom to go watch this, she'd be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
but I think the second part of what I was going to say is these, you know, a lot of these characters were introduced in the 60s and have been like supremely popular since then. And I think what audiences of, you know, guys younger than us, my age and younger, anyone under 30, like, aside from a few standout films, Marvel has trounced DC across the board in our lifetime. However, DC for a very long time, for decades, was the more notable, more popularized, uh, thing. And I think
Yeah, I mean,
Superman kind of transcends superheroes. Like he's more known than
the genre
a lot of
almost.
like a lot of people know Superman and don't even know if he's Marvel or DC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it's
oh yeah,
he's
oh yeah.
so much more popular than so, and I think a
Dude,
lot of these
and then they
characters
have
are like
then they
Wonder
have
Woman is too,
Batman,
and
and they have
Batman is
Batman,
too.
Flash, and Wonder
Yeah,
Woman. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean their big four are admittedly bigger than any character outside of Spider-Man in Marvel.
right.
Yeah,
So
so,
yeah, I mean, I think James Gunn knows that, and they're just kind of not shy about we need to kickstart this universe. If we want to kind of undo some of the mistakes of the DCEU and compete with Marvel on this scale, um, when it comes to animated films, animated shows, DC has been steadily crushing Marvel for a long time. We're finally getting into some great stuff, and not that there hasn't been good stuff from Marvel in those arenas, but pound for pound,
oh yeah,
DC has won that fight for decades, and now we're starting to get into some great Marvel animated stuff, like the new Spider-Man, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, as well as um, X-Men '97 and stuff like that's
oh yeah,
phenomenal stuff. But like,
yeah.
if you're gonna sit down and watch an animated movie that's superheroes, like I can tell you 10 that are DC that are just phenomenal films. Um, as well as the same thing for shows. I think they've just had a better run with that type of medium. But because of those things, there's a lot of kids have grown up on, I grew up watching Teen Titans, and then they made a new version of Teen Titans. So it's like a lot of kids are growing up now watching Teen Titans and like have been introduced to a lot of these characters through animated shows and films and stuff like that, as well as comic books. And then anybody of the older generations, they all know who all these characters are, or at least in a passing sort of way. Like you might not know a lot about Hawkgirl, but you've definitely heard of, like, you've definitely seen her on the pages of a comic you read as a kid. So yeah, I think you're right. Like it might be jarring for some people not knowing who everybody is, but I think we're at the point where the DC has been so embedded in pop culture for so many decades that I think the the risk reward factor is like it's low risk to do something like that and high reward because we got this beautiful movie with so many great supporting characters, and also again they need to kickstart this universe so that they can start to compete with Marvel, and you can't do that without introducing more than one character per movie. It was unbelievably great growing up, and we're watching. I remember seeing the first Iron Man movie, and the Hulk movie with Edward Norton. That's part of the MCU, but also kind of not. you know,
Yeah.
and then the first Captain America, the first Avenger, and all these movies coming together, and then you get the Avengers. The first Thor movie, then you get the Avengers. But even if you look back at those, they introduced Black Widow in Iron Man 2, and they
Yep.
introduced Hawkeye in Thor. So it was like they drip fed us these two characters that didn't get their own debut solo film until way later. Hawkeye got a show, a few years ago, and Black Widow got a movie during COVID after her character had been killed off in the main universe. So they did a flashback film. So she never, they, both of those characters didn't get a solo movie before the Avengers came out, before they were established as being these pinnacle characters in this universe and stuff like that. So even when you look at that, where it's like, it was a slow build towards Avengers, even then they skipped a couple steps and they brought in multiple
Yeah.
characters per movie so that they could kind of show off, other people that were going to be involved in these stories and not have to do a solo film for everybody individually. So I think that's kind of the impasse where DC is at right now, where if they want to compete and they want to build this connected universe, like Marvel has done, they've got to push out a few characters per movie to get things started, and then they can start doing solo stuff and shows and movies and stuff where they give people a little bit more of a highlight. Um, but I think that's just a byproduct of the position that they're in right now, trying to compete, and at the end of the day, to make money, right? Like these films have to make money, or they're gonna die off. The last couple Marvel movies have barely broken even. The last few Sony Marvel movies have lost money, and it's like, well,
What do you mean? Sorry, which one?
I think Venom: The Last Dance either barely broke even or lost
Oh,
money.
oh, oh, those.
The Sony
Yeah.
ones,
Oh,
the
and
Sony ones.
oh yeah, and
Yeah,
Morbius too.
Morbius, I believe, lost money. Actually,
Oh,
I think
100%.
Morbius didn't lose money because people were
They
going to
re-released
see
it
it
as a
as a
meme.
meme. Yeah.
They
So,
re-released it, bro. It was one of the
yeah.
first movies to they took it out of the theaters because it did terribly and they lost a fuck ton of money. And then people memed on it, and then they re-released it in the
Yeah.
theaters.
So I think
Yeah.
that was the only reason they made money on that movie, if they did.
Oh, Craven too.
Craven lost money, dude. Like that movie,
Ooh,
with between
brother.
marketing
Ooh,
and
brother.
the budget and
Ooh,
everything, like they lost money
ooh.
on that movie. Same with
That movie
Madam
was
Web.
terrible. Oh, I
So
forgot about that one too. Fuck.
yeah. So anyways, there's been a trend set in the last few years of superhero movies
Yeah,
barely
that's fair.
breaking even or losing money outright, where these studios are not going to be able to justify making these films anymore. Disney owns Marvel. If Marvel starts losing them money, they're just not going to make shit anymore. In that, for Marvel, you know what I mean? They're just going to focus on their other. They have a ton of other IPs that they can put their time and effort into. Sony owns the Spider-Man franchise, and once again, they own a bunch of other IPs that they can put their time and money into. Warner Brothers owns DC. Once again, they own a ton of other IPs that they can put their money into. If they're going to start losing money on this shit, it's just not going to be worth it to make these films anymore for people like us that are going to enjoy them either way. And I'm gonna pay to go see it even if I don't end up liking it. And then I'm gonna make a podcast about it. So there's still gonna be people like us that go out and see all these films. I go to every Marvel movie on the Thursday night premiere every time, and I buy multiple tickets and get enough so that all my friends and whoever can show up. And there's going to be people like us out there that do that. But if those numbers are dwindling, like at the end of the day, they're making these films to make money, and it's a great thing to have somebody like James Gunn who's passionate about all this shit, so that he can put the passion into the films and make them, these beautiful love letters to the source material. But at the end of the day, if he's not making the studio money, they don't give a shit how passionate he is about it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
they've got to bring in a couple characters per movie to get things on a roll, and then they can start doing more out there stuff. They greenlit that Clayface movie that's going to be like a body horror movie.
Yeah.
So like,
I heard about that. Yeah, it's like rated R and everything.
right. So they're going to take a couple swings, and I think it's going to pay off for them. If I had to guess personally, I think it's going to pay off for them. But you know, they're not going to take those swings until they've established a lived-in universe with a bunch of different characters that people can know and love, or get to know and love. Yeah, I think that's just kind of the impasse that they're at. But anyways, I don't know if you have any more points.
My last thing, and it was kind of just a nitpick, is just I wasn't crazy about the pocket dimension, but I don't really have to go super in depth about that. I thought it was
I'll
kind
get
of
into
like
that in a second with my.
I thought that was just a little bit lazy, but But yeah, that's it for me for cons. Well, mainly nitpicks. This movie was mainly great, like really great. So obviously I gave it a 9, and you gave it an 8.5.
Okay,
So yeah, get on
so
into it.
all the whole 1.5 points that was lost for my, because I thought this movie was, we've been sitting here raving about it. Like this movie is really good, and almost everything in it is perfect. Here are my two big gripes with the movie, and I'll get them out of. I'll read what I have to say, and then we'll move on to our next segment where we just really break this down in depth. They kind of tie into each other. So, okay. Personally, I did not care for the foreign conflict involving the Baravia storyline at all, and feel as though it detracted from Superman's personal story in the film. Dropping us in the middle of Superman's story without giving us his origin, I feel like focusing on him fighting his clone Ultraman in of itself would have been more interesting. And then my other point is Ultraman is supposed to be Superman from an alternate universe in the comics, not a clone of Superman. But I do understand not wanting to avoid the whole multiverse thing, so it does get a pass for me. I didn't have a huge problem with that. However, I do think that doing Bizarro would have made much more sense and fit better into the movie and would have played into the whole campiness of the film. And having the Hammer of Baravia revealed to be Ultraman and then Ultraman revealed to be a clone felt like a hat on a hat to
Yeah,
me. Like that
yeah,
was
yeah,
just
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of ridiculous. Like there was no reason to do that. It didn't make any sense. So, okay, so that's what I wrote down. Andrew and I had a really long, my cousin Andrew, had a really long conversation about it over a couple games of Magic earlier today, and we probably talked for like an hour, mostly about, I asked him what did you think? Because so he came and saw the movie with us, but as soon as the movie ended, he pulled out his phone and checked the time, and he took off. He didn't even stay for the mid and post credits, so because he works early in the morning, so he just left, and the rest of us were all like sitting there. It was like halfway through, we had seen the mid credit scene, and we're like halfway through the end credit scene, and I look over and Andrew's not there, and I'm like, did he leave? And our buddy Jacob's like, yeah, he took off. So I didn't really get to talk to him about it after we left the theater, and I did stand there and discuss it with everybody else. So I wanted to talk to him about it today. I called him up. He's like, yeah, I got to go to this thing at 6 o'clock. But if you want to hang out and play some Magic, and we'll chat about it until then. And I was like, perfect. Declan's getting home from his shift at 6, so we're going to probably film this around that time, and I got to start preparing for that and whatever. So it worked out well. We sat down, played some Magic, and just talked about it. And mostly we just talked about what he didn't like about the movie and what I didn't like about the movie, because he knows I'm a huge comic book nerd, and that it's going to be mostly stuff that I enjoyed. But I did want to hear, like, from somebody that's not in that realm, what did you not like about it, or what did you think didn't work? Where do I even start? Okay. I get that they were trying to do something like political with Baravia was clearly supposed to be like Russia as well as Israel. And
Israel, yeah,
then
that's the vibe I got.
Jarampur was clearly supposed to be like Ukraine mixed with uh, Gaza, right? Palestine. So,
Yeah.
you're getting a little bit on the nose with it, and it felt so like clearly that's what they were doing. You know what I mean?
No,
I don't
I got that vibe too.
I don't have an issue with having a political take in a Superman movie. That's not what bothered me about it. I'll get into some of the quick details first. First of all, there is nowhere on this planet where you could invade a country and the front lines of that war front would be a bunch of children and farmers holding scrap metal and machetes. Okay, that doesn't exist. Where, take exactly what I said they were clearly mirroring in real life, the Israel-Palestine conflict. Hamas has ARs and rockets and RPGs, and like they're not like a bunch of fucking people just in the mud like with nothing. Okay, like that doesn't exist in the world. Like there's nowhere on earth where they don't have at least some form of military or even militia or anything. Like there's nowhere on earth to my knowledge that you could just walk in and the only people that would be on the front lines is like kids holding a Superman flag. Like that's just so, it was just so on the nose. Like,
North
these
Sentinel,
are the,
if you know, you know.
yeah, fair enough. But anyways, so I that didn't work for me because I was like, at least make it fucking realistic if you're gonna depict, like
Yeah,
I
if
feel
you're
like
gonna be
that
that
does
on
a
the
disservice
nose.
to, yeah, and it
Yeah.
does a disservice to, and again, they were obviously clearly also mirroring Russia versus Ukraine. People are fighting for their lives in Ukraine right now with weapons, so it kind of does a disservice to like the comparison you're kind of like trying to make by making these people like have nothing to the point of like nobody even has a gun kind of thing. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I think that just didn't work for me. I thought it was like the wrong kind of goofy and silly, to where
Yep,
I'm
I
like
agree.
laughing at it in like a this is ridiculous kind of way, not like a I'm laughing along with the writers because it was clearly supposed to be campy and silly like most of the movie was for me. I just thought that whole thing was so stupid and poorly handled. Now, how I would have done it differently, Lex reveals at the end of the movie that he doesn't even care about this Bravia Jaranpur conflict, and that the whole thing is to set up an excuse for him to go after Superman and imprison or kill him. Right? So the conflict didn't even matter to the character who's set up the conflict. So which
Yeah.
means it doesn't need to be in the plot whatsoever. If you want to have a political take and do something interesting, you don't even have to leave America. And the idea that I had that Andrew and I discussed also doesn't even alienate anybody on any side of the fence politically. You're not going to alienate a right wing or a left wing audience by doing what I would have done, which is Lex is a billionaire. Have him be lobbying Congress and the Senate and shit, and have all these politicians in his pocket, and he's getting away with all this shit. And Superman goes to the president and is like, yo, Lex is doing all this shit. I need to stop him. And the president's like, I want to stop him too, but he's paid off everybody. Every congressman, every senator is all in his pocket. I can't pass through any laws or do anything. So I have to tell you, you can't do this. And then he, the whole thing of him not consulting with the president to go and deal with this foreign affair, could have also just been he does consult with the president. The president tells him, you can't do this. I'm not giving you the jurisdiction to deal with this problem because there's other conflicts that make this messy and whatever. And then he goes after Lex anyways, and that could have been the conflict. And this is a very real thing that's happening in real politics in the real world, not just in America, but here in Canada, in a lot of Europe, and all over the world, where there are, large mega corporations that control billions, sometimes trillions of dollars that, lobby for, governments, politicians to pay for their campaigns and stuff like that. And then they get to tell them what they can and can't bring to the floor in the House or the Senate or however your system of government works. But it makes it so that laws don't get passed and so that things don't get dealt with because it's not in the vested interest of these large corporations. So this is a real thing that happens in real life. If you want to have a fucking political take, talk about that, make that the focal point of the movie, and the whole Baravia Jaranpur thing was completely unnecessary to the plot, and I don't think it worked for the film. I think it detracted from Superman's story. I think it detracted from the enjoyment level of the film. It also, he didn't need, we have that inspiring scene with Pa Kent telling him why he needs to get back in the fight. We didn't need it to be a scene that Superman doesn't even witness. The kid putting up the flag.
The flag.
Like, it's
Yeah.
like that was so clearly meant to be like the inspiring moment for Superman to do the right thing or whatever. He doesn't even fucking see it. He doesn't even show up to that. You know, he's got to deal with the bigger threat, and he sends the B team to go and deal with that. So I just thought it made no sense. It didn't work in the movie at all. If you wanted to make a really big statement with, you know, Hawkgirl kills the dictator dude at the end, have her kill a fucking senator or something that's like, whoa, I can't believe she just did that. She just killed a U.S. citizen on U.S. soil, you know, like a politician on U.S. soil. Would have had way more impact. Everything about that whole fucking storyline made no sense. And, you know, or it made too much sense in the sense that it was like, it was clearly trying to be preachy about something that, like, most people are on the side of what you're trying to preach towards.
I will say the one thing I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, I agree with most of what you're saying, but the thing that this movie was such a like relief in the sense of like I was watching this movie and I was like forgetting about all the bad things going on in the world or whatever, and that's what this movie's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be like watching Superman, right? And then it's just so interesting to have this conflict that you're right is so on the nose to these two other conflicts going on in real life, and then make it like super campy and weird. I thought the dictator dude or whatever his fucking name was super cringe.
Oh, in a bad way, not even in a
terrible
way of
way.
like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
just the hair and like everything. He was just so ridiculous and over the top. Like, it just really, you know, if you're trying to emulate things that are going on in real life, you know, have, you know, and they did that well with some other things, you know, like Lex Luthor is clearly supposed to be, you know, some modeled off of some, you know, an amalgamation of some real life billionaires and stuff that exists in the world and that sort of thing. But you know, like, he has the mug at one point that says Space Lex on it. Clearly a nod to SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's company. For anybody that doesn't know that, I'm sure most people know that. And, you know, Elon Musk has, love him or hate him, been in the news a lot lately, and is like a poignant figure in the, you know, in global politics and especially in American politics. And, you know, again, I just think it was so unnecessary to do a foreign conflict with a character who's fundamentally American. And these are things that you save for later when there is a Justice League to go and like deal with foreign conflicts. Like, right now, keep him in America. Like, we don't, I don't understand why it needed to have a broader scope than that.
I agree.
The other thing is, going back to the Bizarro thing, I think Bizarro would have worked so much better in this movie. And here's why I have a big gripe with this. And this lost like a full point from the score for me. Bizarro is supposed to be a clone of Superman that is stronger than him, but very low intelligence, okay? That is what they did with Ultraman, okay? Mm-hmm. In this movie, how much do you know about Bizarro?
Like a little bit. I do know a little bit about him. Like, he's not someone I don't know about.
He's supposed to have the inverse powers to Superman, aside from just the strength and flight and stuff. He's supposed to have cold vision and like fire, like heat breath. So he has the opposite. It's like he was a clone that just didn't go right, which also makes sense if you're doing the whole sci-fi thing. It's like, you know, maybe Lex has made leaps and bounds in the technology of cloning, but he's now cloning this alien entity that he doesn't know how to properly sequence the genomes and shit like that. Whatever, you can explain that. Um, this movie clearly set up Bizarro to be who Ultraman becomes later. Bizarro in the comics he goes into like a pocket dimension, like we just saw in this movie, and creates his own uh, Earth, which is it's I forget how you would pronounce it, but it's Earth spelt backwards, and it's a cube instead of a sphere. And then he creates Bizarro versions of all of the characters that we know and love. So before he goes off into this dimension, he creates a Bizarro Lois Lane, and then he, when he's there, he populates this planet with, there's a Bizarro Batman and a Bizarro Flash and a Bizarro Wonder Woman and all that shit, right? So here's my issue: is when they're in the proton river or whatever the fuck, if you notice, it's all cubes that are flying towards that black hole, okay, which is the black hole that he ends up in the end.
Yeah.
Clearly, to me at least, a lot of people probably wouldn't have even caught this, but clearly to me, they are setting up this clone of Superman goes on to become Bizarro, and that we will see him again, that he has gone into this other dimension through this black hole, and he's now going to go on to become proper Bizarro. Here's my gripe with that. In the comics, when Bizarro is created, he looks like Superman, just like a little bit more built, right? Because he's a little stronger than Superman is, and he's just, he's simple-minded. He's like a simpleton. They did that with the character. They didn't make him look more built, but they did establish that he is stronger. Over time in the comics, Bizarro, because he's like this imperfect clone, he goes on to like degrade, and he becomes like pale and like very monstrous looking. And they could have just done that. Like, they could have just said, his name is Bizarro, here's Bizarro, not done the whole thing of like, even with Lex being like, I have Ultraman and the Engineer, U.S. military, let me take contracts and shit like that. It could have just been, I have a clone of Superman, we call him Bizarro, he's stronger than Superman, and he's dumb as shit, and I can just tell him what to do and he does it. Like, that would have been equally as like good of a pitch for him. You know what I mean? So I just think it just didn't make sense to not just make him fucking Bizarro from the beginning, and doing, like I said, doing the whole double reveal of like the Hammer of Baravia is just Ultraman in a mech suit, and then Ultraman is just a clone of Superman. Like, it just, like I said, it was a hat on a hat. It didn't make any sense. Like, it felt predictable and corny in a bad way. I don't understand why they would have taken that direction. Just make him fucking Bizarro from the beginning. Have him, maybe, I don't even know. Like, I don't even think it was necessary to have Superman not know who he was right from the jump. Like, they could have done that reveal early in the movie where Superman sees his own face and he's like, what the fuck? And then, establish that this guy is more powerful than him, and the only reason that Superman's not in imminent danger right now is because Lex doesn't have the green light to fuck with Superman
Take
yet.
him out. Yeah.
Right. So, and then, at the end, that's the big, like, culmination event is, like, now Lex has the right to go after Superman and attack him, and he's got this Bizarro dude that is more powerful than Superman that listens to his every control, and you could have played out the whole end of the movie the same way. They also could have done, if they wanted to, the whole thing of they need to smear Superman's name in the media. They set that all up as the whole Baravia Jaranpur conflict, where he's gone outside of his bounds and he's done this thing and people are upset about it and da-da-da. They could have just done it like how I was explaining how they already ripped off the boys comic books with the whole with Ultraman in the black suit and all that shit. You could have
Yeah.
just ripped off the story part and not the visual part, and had it be before Bizarro starts to degrade and no longer look identical to Superman when he's still in that early state of looking just like Superman. Lex could have just sent him out to go and do bad shit, and that's how he gets his name ruined in the public. Now, I would have, you know, it would have been the nail in the coffin, because I do like the plot point of him going to the Fortress of Solitude. That scene was great. Everything about that was great. Him going to the Fortress of Solitude, finding that message, decoding it, and then releasing that to the public would have been like the last nail in the coffin. And you could have done the whole thing where it's like there are stands of Superman out there being like, there's no way this is him. This has to be an imposter, when Bizarro's out there doing all this bad guy shit. And then the nail in the coffin is, here's a fucking message from his parents telling him to basically do what Bizarro has been doing all movie, pretending to be Superman. And that would have been the nail in the coffin where, like, okay, the whole public hates him now. You know, like everybody's on board with the hate train, because Superman is that clearly is Superman doing this bad shit, because he was literally told to do this by his parents, and this is what he was sent to this planet to do. And it would have made the whole thing of Lex saying that, you know, he was grooming us by being a good guy to like him so that he can slowly take over and all this shit. It would have made that hit harder. I think everything just would have worked better if they had done that. I don't see why. I just can't wrap my head around writing that and being like, yeah, that makes sense. Doing this whole foreign conflict thing made no sense. The whole hat on a hat with Ultraman and the Hammer of Baravia and all that shit made no sense. I think it just didn't fit in the story well, and it did a disservice to the grander story that they were trying to tell. And frankly, like, in this movie that's very much about, I mean, we had a 12-minute scene with him and Lois just talking about who he is and why he does things and what is his motivation and stuff like that. That's like 10% of the runtime of that movie. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big chunk of the film. So if that's the focal point of the character's struggle, I think him having to go up against the whole public hating him for something that he's not doing but clearly looks like he's doing, and then again, the whole thing of like, oh, this footage could be doctored or whatever, when Lex releases the second half of that message to the public, and it's like, no, it's verified by several people that it's not doctored and whatever. It's like they could have done that as a repeated theme throughout, where it's like they have footage of Bizarro doing bad shit, and then it's like, well, okay, clearly this is someone trying to smear Superman. This is all doctored footage. It's like, no, this is real footage of a guy who looks exactly like Superman doing bad shit, and it would have been real footage of a guy that looks like Superman doing bad shit. I just think the whole thing.
That's a really good replacement idea. I like it.
I think it would have worked so much better, and I think it's so obvious to the viewer watching the movie that it's like they could have done something more with this, and it did not take me long to come up with that idea and that concept, you know. And I don't think we've ever gotten a live action Bizarro except for in the Superman and Lois show, to my knowledge. I don't think
you're right.
I don't think there was. But anyway, just do Bizarro. Like, Bizarro would have been way better. And it's like, if you have Bizarro be Bizarro from the beginning, and the conflict end with him being shot into this black hole, where he can then go on and make his own universe. In the comics, Bizarro ends up becoming not like a good guy, but like not a bad guy. You know what I mean? Like, he just wants to have his own world, and like he's not like an antagonist to Superman after a certain point. I think they've shot themselves in the foot with having it be Ultraman first, and then you make him Bizarro, and then he has to be an antagonist again when you show him as Bizarro, because Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Like, why did he have this like turning point? You know what I mean? You have to give
Yeah.
him that turning point now in a subsequent film or show or whatever the fuck they use him next. I just don't think that makes any sense. They should have had him be Bizarro from the beginning. The film culminates in him getting tossed into this black hole. Then, behind the scenes goes on to make Bizarro World and finds some sort of, peace and centers himself and whatever. And then he comes back and he's like, hey man, like, my bad for before. Like, I was just doing what I was told and I didn't know any better. And, I don't want to be a bad guy anymore. I'm just trying to figure out who I am. That's going to feel really uh, that's going to fall flat if they do that the next time they show him. Now, when they show him as Bizarro, they have to use him as a bad guy again, or it's just going to fall flat. And I think you could have just done that all encompassed in the first movie, and it would have worked better for the long run of the character. Because either they bench him for years now and don't show him off until far down the line, or they show him again, in Superman 2 or 3 or something, and they have to do this whole fucking shebang of like explaining this whole story. Like, they could have just done that in this movie. So I don't know. Especially because you're
No, that
screwing
was
up
just,
who Ultraman is in the first place.
yeah.
Because he's
No,
not
it's
supposed
a
to be a
good
clone.
point.
He's supposed to be an evil Superman from another universe.
No,
So
that was a good fix that you suggested there. Um, did you want to? What do you want to do next? Because we kind of went through our. Did you want to go through what was I gonna say? The like I guess just like including thoughts and like maybe some like Easter eggy stuff that you wanted to point out.
well, we're at an hour and 51 minutes right now of recording. So we should probably wrap it up around the 2 hour mark. So let's just do a little closing thoughts. Um,
Oh,
Anything
should I
we missed that you
save?
want to talk about?
For me, I just wanted to shout out the. No, I mean I think that was a great point. Like your solution was great. Your cons were. I mean, I'm right with you there. I just didn't dock it that extra point 0.5. For me, it was still a 9 rather than the 8.5. But as I said, I only bumped it up this morning. Like I left the theater kind of ranking it at like an 8.5, like where you
Let me
had it
just
at.
say
So
too, like, none of these things upset me enough that I'm like offended
eight
that they
five's a
did
good
them, or
score.
like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like that was the only detraction. Those two things that kind of were one thing. And that's just how I would have handled it differently to make it a flawless movie. And
You're
like,
right.
there's not. It's not like I'm like, oh, I'll never watch this movie again because of these things. I gave it an 8.5. That's a fucking good
That's
score. It's like
phenomenal
it's still a
score.
great
Yeah.
movie. I loved everything else about it. And those
Um,
detractions are not going to be like next time I watch the movie, I skip those scenes because it annoys me so much. It's like it's not even that deep. It's just those were the things that I think didn't work and didn't service the story and the character arcs and that sort of thing. I just think that that was the only thing where they missed with the writing. And yeah.
yeah. I mean
Anyways,
I agree. My concluding question is this James Gunn's best comic book project?
no, but
But is it second?
it's off by a cunt hair. Yeah, 100%. Like it's dude, Guardians 3 like Guardians 3 made me cry like 5 separate times during that movie the first time I saw it. And like that movie is just such a fucking brilliant masterpiece of writing, that the from start to finish that movie is so good. And the
Save your
fact
thoughts
that
for next week.
yeah, well, I'll talk a little bit about it, but the fact that
Yeah.
they
About yeah.
flipped the script of it being actually the whole trilogy is Rocket's story and not Peter's story, and just the way that it was written was just so brilliant. And
I don't disagree. I just wanted to pose
yeah,
the question.
yeah, I
So
think yeah.
I think it's Guardians 1, Guardians 3, and this.
You think Guardians 1 is better than Guardians 3?
No, but I'm saying that's the conversation
Okay,
for the
okay.
best three.
Because
I think
Guardians One
this.
is just right behind Guardians Three too for me. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
100%.
Guardians
They're
Three,
right.
Superman, and then Guardians One, and they're like right behind each other. Like they're
So
almost
for me, it'd be flipped. For me, it'd be Guardians 1, Superman, Guardians 3. Just personally, I
because
mean,
like if I
for
was to
me.
give it my scores, like Guardians 3 is like a 9.5. Guardians 1 is like a easy. Actually, it might even
Be a
maybe
9.
yeah, I think it's like a 9. So I think maybe even Superman. And keep in mind we just saw this movie. When I watch it a
Yeah,
few more times and stuff like that, my opinions might change a little bit on it and that sort of
100%.
thing. So,
No, I just wanted to
but
pose the question because it also points out how good James Gunn is. Because this was. And,
well,
hey,
the
I watched.
Suicide Squad was fantastic too.
Was very good. I was going to say the Peacemaker was good too. I
Oh,
just wasn't like.
Peacemaker's awesome. I'm so excited for season 2 of that. We'll be
Glad he was
talking
in this.
about that when that show is coming out. We'll be talking about that a little bit each week when we do these.
Okay. I like that idea.
As stuff airs, we'll have like a general theme for what we're going to talk about in like the whole episode of the pod, and then we'll do like if something's airing, we'll talk about that new episode that came out too. And yeah, I'm very excited for Peacemaker. Very very good. So the
Yeah,
first
and
season was
then
awesome. Him getting a
just to
little
wrap up,
cameo in the
that's what I
movie
was.
was
Yeah, that's what I
also
was saying. It was
awesome.
so
Yeah,
sick. So
yeah.
that, and then the William Reeve, which I have up here. So Christopher Reeve's son was the reporter or one of the reporters in the movie. Had a little cameo. That was pretty sick.
He's actually a
Um,
reporter in real life, to my knowledge.
oh, I didn't know that. That's baller.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. So that's. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about Superman. That was a good chat. I wanted to ask you before we wrap. Can I talk about Jurassic World Rebirth, or do I say that for next episode next week?
Let's talk about it because it is fresh in the
Yeah.
zeitgeist right now. We've
Um,
talked about this in to a large extent
yeah. I'll
already,
keep it
but
quick. I'll keep it quick. I'll keep it
yeah,
quick for
but
sure.
we'll dedicate more time to this in a later episode when. But let's get our thoughts out on it now. I haven't seen
um,
it. Declan's seen it. I haven't seen it.
yeah. So I mean, I'll just do a little solo thing, solo bolo thing here. But I mean, I just wanted to talk about it because it was a big movie and it's doing really well. By the way, it's doing really well.
It's surprising
Um,
because I've heard nothing but bad shit about it, but
I mean, let's even pull it up here.
other than
Like it's.
visually, everybody said visually stunning. The story was a little whack.
Um, I think it's doing like it's. Yeah, I mean, it's doing incredibly well. Yeah, like
Wow.
it's already this about to be the sixth highest in the series, like, and it's been out a week or whatever.
Wow.
91.5 million dollar debut a week ago, not even a week ago.
That's
So,
crazy.
anyways, movie's doing really well. I just wanted to talk about it really quickly because I'm a big fan of the series. I thought it was it has a lot of mixed reviews, I guess, but I really didn't like it. I thought the plot was pretty terrible. But I did want to shout out it looked great, as you had already previously mentioned that you've heard. It looked really fucking good, which is funny because we were talking about how this movie was rushed out. But it looked great and sounded great. So like as far as like a movie the theater experience, it wasn't terrible because of those things. And the dinosaur designs were awesome and stuff like that. But I mean, there wasn't really any dino fights, and the story was really bad in my opinion. There wasn't like that many. There wasn't really any stakes. Um, and there was a lot of plot armor. Not that many people died. There was like no dinosaur fights, which I thought was like kind of lame. Like imagine having a Jurassic movie with no dinosaur fights. That doesn't really make sense. And then, lastly, I mean, this shit's getting memed all over the internet. But the opening scene is literally a Snickers wrapper
Yeah.
destroying a
That's
facility
so dumb.
to release the most deadly variant of a dinosaur that's been created in the last 30 years or 35 years at this point in the story that they've been cloning these things and like modifying them. This thing's like the D-Rex is what I'm referring to in this movie is like probably the highlight of the movie, and it has 5 minutes of screen time. It's like this big fucking six-legged, so it's got four big arms and then two small ones like the T-Rex, and it's like got this massive like alien looking like bubble head, and it's huge and it's super creepy, but it only gets like 5 minutes of screen time, and the whole reason it escaped is some fucking fat idiot was had to sneak in a quick Snickers bar because he didn't feel like himself.
Yeah.
And he was like, I
You're
got.
not
He's like,
yourself when you're hungry.
yeah. He's like, I gotta feel like myself before I go feed this fucking alien death machine. And he
Well,
shut down the
maybe the
facility.
dinosaur wasn't feeling like himself because he was hungry. He had to eat that guy.
Mm,
Like the guy was the Snickers bar for the
right.
dinosaur for the D-Rex, right?
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
Goofy
maybe.
in the worst way.
Yeah.
I
So
just
that
don't.
was terrible
That's
because
so dumb.
the movie tried taking itself serious. Like the premise. I'm just gonna get into the obvious. This is spoilers for this movie as well, but the premise for this one is they need to get a G or like a blood sample from an air creature, being I forget what it's like a massive pterodactyl thing. Forget the specific name, and then they need to get one from the Mosasaurus in the water, and then the land creature is like on one of those big like Argentinasauruses or whatever they're fucking called, the big long necked fuckers. They
Yeah,
have to go get blood samples from all three of these things to create a cure or like I guess treatment for heart disease.
right.
And I guess that was kind of a cool concept, but something me and you kind of spitballed was like to put more stakes on this universe, have it as like they established that like they're kind of like a done fad dinosaurs, like we created them and now nobody cares and now they're dying off. Have it as like as we talked about, like them dying is creating a problem, like a disease gets released that they create that we're not immune to, and it starts just killing us. So that, as we said, there's a band around the world where they can live,
Yeah,
where we
my
can't.
idea was what we know to be true
Yeah,
about dinosaurs is that the oxygen content in the air when dinosaurs were alive was significantly higher than it is now. So there'd only be, they'd basically only be able to live around the equator, to my knowledge, where like the
which they
oxygen
established
content
in
is
this
is
movie, which
higher.
is why we were saying was a cool idea, but they need to continue on with your what we thought would be cool, which
Right.
was your
So it
idea.
would be cool if they had time jumped this ahead, and this is taking place in the future from now, and all of humanity has basically been forced to live either up in mountain ranges where the oxygen content is even lower than normal, where these dinosaurs cannot exist. They would be starved for oxygen, or in the far north or the far south in the world. And the human population has declined because the dinosaurs are fucking eating everybody, or even just, a brontosaurus comes and eats your entire field of crops. Like, how do you even sustain that? Right? So
Yeah,
they could have done this thing where it's like it time jumps ahead. This is in the future. There's all these fallout issues with having created these dinosaurs and letting them loose on the world. Even the non even the vegetarian dinosaurs are killing us off just from eating more than we can produce. So we've been forced as humanity to go live in these remote areas.
right, and have a repercussion for killing them. So it's not
Right.
just as simple as just
Yeah,
shoot
and then
them.
it's
So
like
have it
when
like
you kill them, it's like they release this, there's this new bacteria or whatever that we're
yeah,
not, that we're incredibly susceptible to dying from, and when you kill them, they start decomposing, and so like that whole area is like, nuclear
fucked.
fallout zone, right? It's like
Yeah,
if you kill a dinosaur, it's like for miles around it, no one's safe, and you could even do like a sort of the Last of Us video game thing where it's like you have to wear a gas mask because there's this shit in
right,
the air,
exactly.
and
So our
anyways.
idea, our like conjoint idea here was basically take that idea and a little bit from where I was saying, like Planet of the Apes as well, where you have like these group of people now having to do something similar to what they had in this movie as the plot, where they have to go get these three samples to create a cure. But what that cure should have been to this disease or whatever that they release when they die, so that
Right.
humans can become immune to it, so then we can just freely kill them and get our planet back, and then have them traverse through like the center band of the Earth around the equator and have to traverse through this fucking quite literally what it was 60 million years ago. They are just freely living there as their own environment, and they are the dominant species there. Would have been
I could
super
even
cool. And
see
mind you,
this
the
in my
way
head of it being a trilogy, and then
exactly
the
because the
the
way
end of the
sorry to cut
third
you off,
movie. Sorry, go ahead.
but let me finish real quick. The ending of this movie would have set that up perfectly because they have this like military boat that they use to get to this island, and it gets fucked up by the Mosasaurus and a bunch of Spinosauruses, and it's like gets capsized. And when they get the three samples at the end of this movie, and they get to back to a boat, and they find a boat, it's like an inflatable raft. It's like a little dinky thing, and they already
Right,
got fucked up in a military boat, and that's where the movie ends. So have
right.
something similar where it ends like that, and it's like, yeah, we have the facilities for the cure, but now the problem is getting back
Getting
and
there.
creating it.
Yeah, so that would be the second movie, and then the third movie is finally, they start going around and hunting these dinosaurs and killing them off, and you can have a ton of cool fight scenes where people, get killed en
Yeah,
masse, going basically to war with these dinosaurs, and then
yeah.
the end
Literally Planet of
scene.
the Apes trilogy kind of
Yeah,
idea was what we're
and then the
saying here.
end
Yeah,
scene of this third movie could be like, okay, we've solved the grand scale threat of we've wiped out all the dinosaurs and shit, but like the last little 10 minutes of the movie could be like, but now there's so much that we have to rebuild. Like not only
yeah,
have we basically ditched every major city all over the world and that sort of thing, like we've had to go to these remote locations, so all these cities are like completely in disrepair and whatever, and it's been, again, I would have time jumped this movie ahead, so it's like it's been a couple
yeah.
decades and it's like these, New York City is crumbling and like shit, like you can't just go back to New York City. You have to like reestablish these places and shit. And on top of that, have it be like now the other big threat is that the dinosaurs have completely changed the landscape of the ecosystem. So they've wiped out a bunch of like species and shit that we relied on to, have a properly functioning
Right, and that would be a
ecosystem.
great cliffhanger to a trilogy
Right,
for sure.
right. Where it's
Yeah,
like, okay, are we still fucked though? Like we dealt with this and all the dinosaurs are wiped out, but like, are we still fucked? Like there's a
yeah,
bunch of shit that's like never gonna go back to normal. Or you could even set up like what I would do for the big cliffhanger at the end is they're like, okay, there's all these species that have been wiped out and shit. We're going to use the tech that originally brought the dinosaurs back to recreate a bunch of these species and release them back into the
there you go.
world
Yeah,
so that we can hopefully reestablish the life as it was prior to the dinosaurs. But then it's like there's some like evil mad scientist or whatever that's part of that, that's like, I'm going to start like combining species again and shit. And it's like
yeah,
now you have the threat looming over this new world of like, now there's going to be like animals that have existed alongside humanity, not dinosaurs, but animals we know that are now like spliced together, and like how's that
right.
going to fuck everything up and whatever. And
There's
you
so
don't even
much
have to
better
make
shit.
that movie later
Yeah,
on, right?
exactly.
Because then it'd be no
Yeah,
longer like a Jurassic movie, but
it would just be a
leave
good
it on that
cliffhanger.
cliffhanger where it's like, are we, are we still cooked though? Because we're gonna keep
Yeah,
meddling with shit, and we know that it doesn't work. I just think that would have been a way
yeah.
better. Yeah,
Anyways, that was a we got a little off like tangent there, but I mean we just wanted to spitball that idea because this movie like looked great and like for the most part was acted very well. I mean, I thought Scarlett Johansson kind of phoned in her performance, but Jonathan Bailey, I believe, is the name of the guy that played the Doctor.
Mahershala
Um,
Ali, dude, is fucking
Mahershala
top
Ali,
notch actor, dude.
they underutilized two-time Oscar winning Mahershala Ali. Um, but yeah, I mean, great cast for the most part. They just didn't really get to do too much. And I think this movie could have been a lot better. But if you enjoyed it, I'm really happy for you because this is just should be a movie that you go and watch and have fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just thought like Jurassic World, the original, that we rewatched it recently just to contrast and compare, was phenomenal. Like it's a great movie. There's like a few plot holes for sure, but like that's who cares in that kind of movie. It's just fun and it had stakes and like made sense for the most part, which this one just kind of didn't really. So just wanted to briefly talk about that.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think
And
we can
I'll
probably
probably, I don't think I'm gonna go pay to see it. But I'll probably, torrent a webcam version of it or something. You know,
Might
don't
Jack
tell
Sparrow
anyone.
that bay.
Yeah, I might, yo ho ho and a bottle of rum it, but um, yeah, I'll watch it and we'll have another proper discussion
Yeah.
about it later once I've seen the movie. But this was something that I wasn't worried about getting spoiled about. So Declan and I have had a pretty long,
Yeah,
at
it's
length
yeah,
discussion about it earlier, where we talked
100%.
about what his thoughts on it were, and how I would, like he said, that was like a joint idea of ours where we both kind of came up with our own version of the plot that would have worked better. Um,
But
yeah, I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, hire me,
Um
whatever studio produced that movie.
yeah,
Who
on
owns
God,
that?
I mean, it
Who owns
is
that IP?
Universal. Yeah.
Universal. Hire me, Universal. I'll fucking fix everything, dude.
Um
Hire
before
us.
we yeah, I mean, a lot of companies should be hiring a lot of people like us, but
Yeah, seriously.
besides the point. Before we wrap here, so next episode, just to confirm, we're doing the tier list, and at the
Yeah.
end of the tier list, we're going to be doing Ironheart,
Yeah.
and we're going to talk about that. And then, what else can we do next week?
Like the week after? Or
No, I
just
mean
next
like
week?
whenever we do our next episode, because it probably
Um,
won't even be a full week, because we'll probably just get around to it whenever I have a day off.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that'll fill like a lot of time doing the full tier list. I mean, there's I think
and
48 projects just in the main universe MCU, plus
yeah,
there's all the multiverse stuff and whatever. So, that'll probably fill a lot of time. We could probably come up with something else that we can talk about in depth to fill a little bit more time, because the week after that, 2 weeks from
yeah,
now,
that'll be another special.
Fantastic Four is coming out, and then we're gonna have to put that into the tier list as well and talk about how we feel about it and whatever. So, um, I think we could probably come up with something else, but yeah, we'll leave that as a little surprise for the 5 people that are gonna watch this.
Yeah, I guess
And
as
we're
of
just
right
getting
now.
started, like it's this is episode 1, and we don't have like a viewership base or anything, so we can kind of just fly by the seat of our pants for a bit. But yeah, I think we'll come up with something to fill some time to talk about, just
Yeah, we'll
because
just
we
get
will be
our yeah.
revisiting in the right after the next week episode. We're gonna revisit the list and do that again to slot in Fantastic Four and why we think it should go where it goes in our tier ranking and whatever. So yeah, we'll figure out something else to talk about. There's lots of like franchises. Actually, I'd be down to talk about Nintendo for a little bit. The
Oh,
Switch 2
true.
just
Yeah.
launched recently. We both got one. We've both been playing a lot of Mario Kart World. I'm a little burnt out of it, but it's because I put like a
They also
hundred
fucked
hours into that
online.
game. They ruined online. This is all stuff we'll talk about next week probably.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, yeah. So we got Switch stuff. If for some reason this episode blows up, and within the next 5 days, people want me to, or by next week or next episode, people want me to talk about Destiny, I will, because the new DLC drops on Tuesday, and I will be playing that, and I'm excited
we
as
can
fuck.
talk about, so it's best we talk about stuff that we're both into, that we but
Yeah.
like if you want to fucking monologue about Destiny at the end of next episode or something, by all means. There's stuff that I'm
Yeah.
into. I got you into Magic the Gathering, but like I'm a lot more into it than you are. There's going to be
Yep.
times when a new set drops
You
or whatever
you
for
take the
Magic,
wheel.
and yeah, exactly. And it's like you
Exactly.
can give me your input and whatever, but mostly it'll just be me talking about shit. So yeah, no, it's
Um.
it's cool if we do that too, but yeah.
So I guess yeah. I mean, as far as like schedule going forward, we don't have one. I think we're kind of just like we'll be doing. So this episode would have come out ideally yesterday, which is what we'll probably do for Fantastic Four. We'll probably try to get the episode out on a Friday, because ideally I see
Are
that one
you
with you.
seeing it? Yeah, are you coming
I'm,
to
we
London
can
for
talk
that?
about we can talk about that off air, but
Okay.
um, we'll be seeing that ideally on the premiere night on Thursday, so we'll have that episode out on the Friday rather than the
Right.
Saturday. But as far as episode 2 goes, that'll just be at some point next week. That won't have like a specific date, because there's no time rush in order for us to get the episode out for our tier list and stuff. And Ironheart's already fully out, so
Yeah.
no rush. But yeah, if we do it after the Tuesday, I'll probably give a little bit of my my opinions on the Destiny stuff, because I am very excited. So
Yeah,
yeah, I mean,
we'll probably just film these. I think Sunday is a good release day for stuff like this. It's it's at the end of the weekend. Some people want something to watch at the end of the day on a Sunday, whatever. If they don't get to it
then
and
they get on the Monday
then
on
they
their
have it
first day of
all
work.
week. They can watch it. Yeah, first day of work, back in the office, whatever. You have something to watch. So,
Yeah,
um,
shout out the Escape Pod. They do that shit too intentionally, where they release it at like 3 in the morning on Mondays, so people can watch
right.
it on their first day of the week.
Yeah, so
So
I think Sunday is a good release time for us. These aren't going to need a lot of editing. Like I might just upload this tonight, or schedule it to upload
yeah, obviously going
tomorrow.
forward, there will be more production going into it the more we grow, because obviously we
Tell your
find,
fucking friends.
yeah,
Yeah.
type shit, because I'm employed, Ryan's busy doing stuff. We aren't, we got shit going on, so it's not just like we're not going to be like fully editing all these until we get to a point where hopefully this can be our full-time job.
Hell yeah.
So
We also will
yeah,
have the
we'll
channel
do
that
like,
this is
yeah,
posted on is also going to have my other podcast with my best friend called the Lost and Found Box. That's the logo for it down there. And then also, actually, I think I set up like a little watermark logo for the like bottom right corner of the screen for all of our uploads on this channel. That'll be
okay,
like the Lost and Found Box Studios. So this channel will have at least those two podcasts on it to begin with, and then if any of our friends want to do a podcast, if you want to do one with one of your buddies or whatever, like we'll just upload it all in the same place so that people can just come to one hub to find all these,
right,
or just subscribe
and
to
be
one
easier for
channel. So
growth for everyone as well.
yeah, all of our views will bounce off each other and that sort of thing. People will see this and like it, and then go on to watch the Lost and Found box, which is more of like a just kind of no rules, just talk about whatever the fuck we want kind of thing. That's hence the name. Um, so yeah, we'll have both of these for the time being uploaded to this channel, and then there will be likely more podcasts on this network that come out down the line as well. So yeah, expect to see a variation of content on here, and if you like our conversations and stuff, you'll most likely like other stuff that we do. So yeah, it's that'll be kind of how we handle it. So yeah,
And I know this is kind of jumping into the deep end here before we wrap, but it's also not the out of the realm of possibility that like me and you can record stuff when we game sometimes too, if it gets to a
yeah.
point where that would be something y'all want to see. If you guys want to see us play something, we
So
can
this
be
is my
playing something
first
and
time
record it.
using OBS
Yeah,
right
we're
now.
by the way, we are
So
not like, we are nerds, but we're not very
we're not. I'm not
like
tapped into this whole
the
world.
streaming stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
but
not really into all
however,
that
that being
and the
said, we
recording
like
stuff.
yeah. That being said, like this program seems incredibly easy to use for us to just stream gameplay and stuff. So right now Declan and I are playing through Far Cry
Far
6,
Cry. Yeah.
which is probably what we're gonna go do after we wrap this up, actually.
After we wrap here, yeah, probably.
But yeah, if you guys want to see gaming content and stuff, it's something that we'll cover on this podcast frequently. We're we both have gaming PCs.
Exactly,
We both
yeah.
have Switch 2s.
Whenever we don't have like a premiere movie to talk about on the Friday, um, we'll, and like some of the filler episodes will definitely be more gaming related, because like we'll just be talking about that as we're playing and whatever stuff
Yeah,
like that.
so
So
we can do like a thing where it's like if we really run out of stuff to fill the gap weeks with, we'll just start recording us gaming while we talk about nerdy stuff. That's what this whole podcast is going to be, is just talking
yeah,
about nerdy stuff, and that encompasses all the content of video games, movies, television, all that sort of stuff. So Magic the Gathering, all that stuff. So you got to get Tabletop Simulator, and we can also play Magic on live. That would also be fun.
true.
So
So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of stuff, and we're just gonna be shooting the shit. It doesn't matter if we have 0 viewers or 1,000 or a
yeah,
100,000. We're gonna be shooting the shit until it works. We don't really care. We're doing this for fun. So as long as people are enjoying and we're enjoying, this will be coming out for. I mean, we're gonna be doing this for a while, man. I don't see us not doing this for a while. So
Yeah, and once I have some funds to reinvest in this stuff, I mean, I'm wearing a Pokemon shirt right now. When the next Pokemon game comes out, we'll probably do a bunch of content about that, and
yeah,
just
100%.
as things that we enjoy come around, we'll just focus an episode in on that, regardless of what it is. As soon as I have money to get like a setup to record my Nintendo, I'll do that as well. So yeah, well, that's
Yeah,
kind of what this is going to be. Whether it's us just talking over Discord or like this, or us talking over gameplay footage of us just sticking around in whatever video game. That's kind of going to be the vibe of this whole thing.
yeah.
All
Anyways,
right,
so I
let's
mean,
wrap it there. We've
yeah,
you know
we've been
for
yapping
the
way too
sake of by the
long,
way
but
for the sake of me not having to edit in shit later in later episodes. I mean, this is probably not going to get enough views to like make anyone pissed off, like, oh, you should have given me a spoiler warning or whatever. But we should have done a spoiler warning at the beginning that we're going to go really in depth about the
oh,
Superman movie. So in the future, when we're talking about something that's very current, something that
I
just
kind of
released, we'll do
forgot.
like a spoiler warning at the beginning, so I don't have to go in and like edit even just words on the screen or a clip of us afterwards that was an afterthought of us being like, "Hey, spoilers ahead," kind of thing. So I'm not
Yeah, I
gonna worry
mean,
about it for this
yeah,
one,
don't
but
worry about it now.
in the future we will do that. We'll make a point
Because then
of
what we
saying
should
that.
do, what we should do, and what we'll do for y'all going forward is then we'll have like a quick overview of like non-spoiler, and then we'll be like, hey, fucking spoilers, and then we'll go in
Yeah,
depth and talk about it for an hour.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I
We'll
agree.
catch our stride as we keep doing this. But
Yeah, 100%.
all right,
Alrighty,
let's end it there. I think that was good. We went like way over what I
way
thought
too
we were
long,
gonna.
but
I don't.
that is okay.
There's no such thing
Not
as
too
too long.
long,
Yeah, I don't think
but
there's
I
such
mean,
thing as too long. If people
I
don't
agree.
watch
I
the whole
wish
thing,
most,
you don't watch the whole thing. That's fine.
yeah, I
Joe
wish
Rogan
most of
does
my
3 hour
favorite
episodes and
podcasts were
people watch.
longer. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah. Anyways,
okay,
peace out, y'all.